That always catches me out. That always catches me out. I was in the middle of getting Dawn ready to come on to the show. Ladies and gentlemen of the world. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe how many of you are already in there. Oh my God. I need to just basically start at the start. Who was in here first tonight? It was Denise. Denise, welcome to the show. Good to see you, darling. Maya's not here tonight. Maya is in London tonight. She's abandoned me at my hour of need. No doubt she'll watch this later and go, oh, bloody hell, Dad. No, she's up in London visiting her mom. So she's not with me tonight. And I'm not on my own, though. I'm not on the own. Momentarily, I'm going to be joined by Dawn. And we have a very special guest to you tonight. Paul, who's going to be joining us a bit later on, is affectionately known as Obi-Wan, and you'll get to know why. Will be joining us roughly around 20 past, something like that. But Dawn is on her way. I understand the limousine has gone to get her, bring her to the studio. Lynn Ferns joined us. Lynn, good evening and welcome to the show. Julia Evans, welcome to the show. Good to see you all. Right, Barry Hendricks, Baza is in the house. Baza, welcome to the show, bub. Dawn Hatton, oh my word, is busy already? Dawn, why are you chatting? Get your butt in the studio. Val, welcome back to the show. Here she is. You like to see, honestly. You part-timers.
I was trying to figure out how.
You're just kind of getting one, can't get staff these days, see what I mean?
I know. I was trying to figure it out. I'm trying to get the chat up on my phone as well.
Hey, listen, you don't need how to figure out how to chat. You were born chatting.
When I'm on here talking to you, I miss talking to everybody else in the chat box. It's not all about you know.
You can still do it. You can still chat away. It is feasible for you to do both. See, bottom right hand corner, there should be a little. It says post a comment.
I got leave more chat cam mic. Where's chat?
Click on chat and see what happens. And if you disappear, just click back on cam or mic.
I can see it now, but I can't see you at the same time.
Well, you can flick back and forth. I can see you.
Hang on a minute. I'm pressing the Xbox, so there you go.
Let me say hello to everybody while you're having a wee soar out there. And you know, 3 shows in, you'll have gotten used to it. You'll be able to bang it back and forth, no problem whatsoever. So anyway, I was saying hello to Val. Good to show you. Good to see you. And welcome to the show. Wacky Jackie's in the house. Gary Edwards is in the house. Welcome to you all. Julie Sharp is in. Everybody's here. Mary Barber's here. Bex is in the house. Good to see all of you. Amanda's here. Sue Vinicum is here. Who else? I'm going all down. Everybody's chatting away. It's so lovely to see people chatting. It really, really is. Love their. Barry says he loves the picture in the background, Dawn. I've got mine defuzzed or fuzzed, so you can't really see it.
I've not got that technical yet.
You'll find it. It's in the little where it says settings. Stephen Whitburn's in the house. Steve, good evening, my friend. Do you remember when I was talking to you about the pub? When I was telling you the story about the pub where we were, and I did. We were doing the paranormal, and I found out about the king that was hiding there. That's Steve Whitburn's place. He's in the chat room tonight. Steve, come out of Facebook. Get across to YouTube. Get in there, and at the top of YouTube, you'll see a search bar. Just type in Paul Francis 111. It'll bring you right back to the show. Subscribe on there, and I promise you, a load less scammers and people trying to hack you. Anyway, Dawn.
Yes.
You're looking good. What happened?
I put some face on.
You put your.
You can tell it's just not as scary as usual.
You put your face on. I remember watching a comedy show. I think it was what was it? Tim the Toolman Taylor.
Yeah.
And he was there was an episode where he was telling his sons that women are born without a face. That's what you hear Mama say. I've got to go up, put my face on.
You know, it always reminds me of Mrs. Doubtfire when she puts her face in the fridge.
That's right. Oh, brilliant films. Speaking of which, I started watching. I woke up because today was supposed to be one of the days I was actually having off. Yeah, right. And I woke up this morning and I thought, oh my God, I don't have to get up. Oh my God. And you know what? I woke up as I normally do on time. Could I get back to sleep? Could I rest?
It's always the way.
Just got to get up. But
Yeah.
I'm lining myself up to watch a brilliant movie called Stigmata.
I saw that years ago, or have they remade it?
I got a funny feeling they remade it because it's just popped up on one of the the newer TV
Yeah,
shows
yeah.
like Netflix or something like that.
It's like Keanu Reeves. I think, did Keanu Reeves do it
No, it
originally?
wasn't Keanu Reeves. He was in the remake of something of the worlds, the world, the War of the Worlds or something like that. He
That
was
Tom Cruise, wasn't it?
he was in that one as well. Keanu Reeves has been the one where he's the robot and he brings like petulance to the earth, and he was in something like that. Anyway, what I did, I only found out, would you believe, today that Halloween is actually Irish.
Yeah.
I never
Yeah.
knew that. Well, Irish. Well, I say Irish, I mean Celtic. It was
Yeah.
it was Celtic. It was based in Ireland, where what they say the land that is now called Ireland.
Well, it's to
60
mark
years I've been Irish, and I never knew that.
I think originally it was to mark the end of the harvest, wasn't it? It was nothing to do with.
Yes, it was called Sohan.
Yeah, it was to celebrate our ancestors. That
let me just get. I'll tell you the proper pronunciation of it.
Salmain.
Somain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Somain. It was pronounced. Sorry, it was the end of the harvest, and it was that was actually November 1st was the Celtic New Year, and the whole idea was that was the time that the veil between the two worlds was at most blurred, and apparently that's where it started. That's the whole idea started. And then the Romans got involved, and the Christians got involved, and over time it then became All Souls Night. It wasn't called All Souls Night. It was called a couple of different things, and in fact, one of them you should know. It was a Roman goddess of the fruit and the trees. And I'll find out her name for you. I was mesmerized in it earlier on. I'll do a bit of reading from it in a wee while. But there was a Roman goddess, and she was basically the goddess of the trees and the fruit. And what they would do, they would actually. I did when I seen her name, I thought, oh, I've heard of that before.
Because the Irish had their own gods. They had the Tuatha De Danann. So it started in Ireland.
It
Surely
doesn't say about. It just says Soman. Soman is the festival. I'll look at. It starts with a P. Is the name of that god, that Roman goddess. But I'll find out while we're having a chat anyway later on. I tell you what, I was so. As you can see, look, I was so locked away in it today that it was actually really, really. I love history. Love it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially with everything that's coming out now. It seems to be opening up a little. Oh, I can't even spell it now. Opening a lot more doors on how to get to the truth, because what you're taught in school about history and stuff like that.
Oh, it's all. Anyway, the honor to honor the Roman goddess Pomona, Pomona. Pomona is the apple, and the incorporation her symbol is the apple. The day, so the first was Ferula, which was the day in late October when the Romans traditionally commemorated the passing of the dead. And then the second day was to honor Pomona, the Roman goddess of fruit and trees. And the symbol of Pomona is the apple. And that, you ready for this? That is where bobbing for apples came from.
Oh.
Oh, you didn't know that, did you?
I was reading, so I like did I say about the Pendle Witches before?
Yeah.
And, so on a Saturday, they used to have all the festivals, and they used to hang people on the Saturday. So that's why you have a hangover on a Sunday.
Oh, right. And that's we were talking about that when we were doing that investigation, weren't we?
Yeah. And you
were telling me about the hangover, and I went, oh my God.
Yeah, and you get the phrase hangers on.
I love learning. There's a young lady joined us. I'm just sorry to interrupt you there, my love. Rachel Salinas, welcome to the show, Rachel. So I just saw that name and I thought, oh, that's ignorant. I have said hello to everybody else, but I didn't say hello to her. Sorry, Dawn. Mary is asking, is that the proper spelling of Pomona? No, it's Pomona, Pomona. Well, if you just type in the tradition, all I typed into Google was where did Halloween start, and then it links into, and this is in the History Channel. It sends you a link to the Written History Channel, and I was just reading it, and I was like, oh my God, 60 years I've been an Irishman. Never knew that.
Do you ever get a phrase or a nursery rhyme or anything that just keeps repeating and repeating in your head, and it won't stop until you figure it out?
I do get stuff like that. I mean, that's very often the case when I'm getting links upstairs.
Yeah.
I've very often woken up singing something, thinking, hey, where did that come from? You know?
And it's like a movie clip, and you have to go and watch the movie to be able to get the message to what they're trying to. Lately, I've had Ring of Roses going around in my head, and of course,
that's coming into that time. That's why, because that was when the Ring of Roses is a story about the plague.
Yeah, but that's what we're all taught.
Yeah.
And I like.
Well, I never knew that Ring of Roses was. I just, when I was a kid, you were taught to sing it and get in a circle, holding hands, and ding, 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 ding.
But when you think about it, it looks like a bit of a ritual, doesn't it?
Well, if you think about it, a tissue, we all fall down. Plague. Yeah. For this, until I was like probably into my teens, I never knew that.
Yeah,
but then again, I was so naive. Don't forget, I was brought up an Irish Catholic. So I was so naive that I didn't know what Captain Pugwash was all about either.
Wow. Don't even get me started on Captain
Pugwash. Oh my God. And I was like, I was in high school before they went, oh, Captain Pugwash is all about this. And I'm like, what?
Well, it's like Rainbow.
They were like, it's all about that. And I went, what?
Yeah. Looking back on clips of Rainbow, and oh my God, they were so close to the bone. And back then you're so naive, you didn't even realize it.
Well, I mean, they were always close to the bone in the Carry On movies. They were just bringing it right to that edge. Did you know why? I've only found this out quite recently. They were given a booklet, a little booklet about that big, by the BBC, and the BBC told them what they can say, how they can say it, when they can say it, what time they can say it at, what they can't say. So they kept going, really?
Yeah.
Vanessa Mayles joined us. Vanessa, good evening. Vanessa, come off Facebook, my darling. Come on over to YouTube. Come off Facebook. Come to the dark side. Dawn, so tell us all about what's going to be happening in our hunt.
On our hunt.
Actually, I always said that. I always said I would never call it a hunt, because when I become spirit, I don't want to be hunted.
I know, it sounds like we're going out for pheasants or rabbit or something, doesn't it? And it's like we're going
well, the
out
thing about it is, it's become such of a colloquialism that if you say an investigation, people think police.
Yeah,
if you say ghost hunting, I mean, it's unfair, but
it's
I think
reporting, really, isn't it? You're more reporting.
Well, actually, no. Glad you said that. Glad, because my brain was doing 950 miles per hour today, and I was thinking, well, haunting's not a real word either. Haunting's not a right word, because a spirit visits a property, say where they lived and they enjoyed it, all of a sudden that place is haunted. Well, we live in the house now, so why isn't it called haunted?
Yeah. So you're more reporting on what you've witnessed, because I think everything. I know you get the replayed hauntings, which is just an energy replay, a loop.
Yeah.
But
well, that's the difference between ghosts and spirits, isn't it?
Yeah. So. Other than that, I mean, I don't want to catch something that's replayed on a loop, because that's
actually, I've seen both, and you know what? The one that I saw that caught my attention the most was a ghost.
Right.
I mean, I've witnessed spirit and witnessed things moving. I've been involved in paranormal investigations where literally stuff was moving. I've been. Have you ever been to a table tipping?
Well, I felt it, but well, I didn't feel it. I felt it vibrating, but
Well,
nobody
I've
else.
been where it was actually bouncing left and right and back
Yeah,
and forth. It was going on all four axes like that. So I've been to all of that, but the only thing that actually I went, huh? Like that was one that the Grey Lady, as she was called, walked out of a wall right across the front of me and back through another wall, and I was doing a group session for a bunch of ladies, and I went, and the lady who owned the house said, "You've just seen her, haven't you?" And I said, "Excuse me?" She said, "You just seen the Grey Lady, haven't you?" I went, "Yeah." And they went, "There used to be doorways there." And I went, "Oh, right, gotcha." So she was walking through what would have been the doorway.
yeah,
So, and that was that's a ghost. That's a replay of
yeah,
time.
yeah. My granddad they had a really old cottage over in Mount Hawk, and it was one of those really quirky cottages with the little latches on the doors that you had to
Oh,
go up,
yeah.
and all the floors were wonky. I think that place had loads. It was so old. But you used to have to go up the stairs, around a corner, down a couple of steps, open the door to go down a couple of steps to come into the room. So in houses back then, they were all at different levels,
That's right,
and
yeah.
the walls and the doors, everything has been replaced in this modern age. There's nothing really left from the original. So you've got to think that they're walking on the floorboards. They were
In
never
their
there.
time.
Yeah.
It's just in their time, yeah.
See, I'm looking more for direct communication.
Mm,
I want a
that
spirit to
spirit.
come and speak to me.
Well, even though we weren't, well, we were there for a amount of time. When we did that recce, we interacted with spirit. We never seen a ghost once, not the whole time there. It was all spirit.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
was it's really cool. I mean, so I was going to put you on the spot and say, right, come on, tell everybody about what we're going to be doing this time, because Barry Hendricks wants. So we want to be aiming for a Friday or Saturday, preferably a Friday. I think oddly enough, that's the one day of the week where I'm absolutely free, Fridays.
Yeah, I think there's 3 or 4 places in the graveyard that we need to sit down and focus on, rather than the recce we did. It was like a lovely walk around. I don't know. It just
Truro, it felt.
yeah, that's what it felt like. And I mean, yeah, it was just. It felt like I was walking around with my ancestors and walking down the main street on a Saturday afternoon, going, all right. But we need to sit down and focus on a few places around there, and I know the stories about.
It'll be, I would say, at least 2 teams this time, and a hub. You know, so it'll and we'll do actual investigating where we'll get them to do bells, or we're getting to do lights and this and that and the other. So Amanda is actually asking, what is the people? Jackie said she's done table tipping, is where you literally everybody in the room, everybody present, lays their hands on the table, and they just literally just put their hands on the table like that, and we invite spirit to come and interact with all of our energy and all of their energy, and they start to move the table, and usually the table just starts gently like this back and forth. Now Dawn has said she's actually witnessed the energy, because it starts to like vibrate through the bottom. You'll start feeling it, you think, oh, here we go, and then it'll go, and then it'll just go, don't like that, just don't. But we got it to the point where it was going like this here, and I don't tell porkies, I was bricking myself. I was thinking, what the hell is this? If we can throw this table around like this, and it was going to and we were all trying to keep our hands on it. And the lady who was running it said, "Don't take your hands off." And we're like, we're going, "Oh, I want to stop now."
Yeah, see, I don't know what it would take for me to panic like that. Because when you're asking out for this sort of stuff, and then it's like the shock and surprise of when something happens. It's like there's people that go running because a ping pong ball has fallen down the stairs, and I'm like going, but that's what you're there for.
Well, like I told you, I'm gonna, I'm not gonna be sitting here and going, "Hey, look at me, I'm really big." when I went, remember I told you guys I went to that physical mediumship, physical group chat, and I was learning all about physical mediumship. We were sitting in this room, and it's a small room, and we're all sitting around a table, and on the table was various bits and pieces and bells, and the bells were hung underneath the table. And the lady who ran the physical circle, very, very honest, very, very straight up lady, and I totally trust her 100%. And the bells just rang. Ding, 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 like that. I got up and almost ran into a wall. You got to remember, it's pitch black. I mean, you can't see your hand in front of your face. It's pitch black. And I literally jumped off the chair and went to run, and I put my hands out and I stuck the wall like that. I went, oh, and she said, "Where are you going?"
Yeah.
I went, nowhere. I sat back down again. And it was about 3 weeks before I got used to it. I have no problem. If somebody gets up and goes to run, I'll go, "Hey, listen, don't worry, I've been there. I was there."
You're running on your own, mate.
Yeah, there's a few things though I just wanted to share with a few people, and I'm sure you'll back me up, Don. Some of the things that I've been doing a lot of research recently, and I mean pretty much daily, and I've been watching a few people on YouTube, and they do things that are really, 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 really wrong. Okay, number one is never, ever, ever go paranormal investigating on your own. Ever. Okay, that is one of the silliest things to do, because you don't know what's underneath your feet, you don't know where you are, you don't know what's going on around you. And even though Dawn knows knows that graveyard back to, well, she didn't know back to front because we got lost, but but you would never go in there and do it on your own in the dark, because you could literally fall anywhere there.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
you're in the middle of
there's
nowhere.
grates there covering over wells that are
Yep.
ancient. There's old headstones that are broken, that are changing constantly because of the weather and how the land
Yeah.
is.
And
You've
we
got
saw
all
a few of
sorts
those trees,
hazards.
Donnie, that obviously the high winds and that had moved and pushed up some of the graves. You could trip over anything and then fall forward, whack the head of another gravestone, and it's good night, Irene. You'll be joining them. And the other thing is, don't go in duets as well. I know it's safer, but it's not, because what happens ultimately when you're going out with just a pair is one of you is going to want to go one way, one's going to go another. So you inadvertently becoming two single investigators.
But you know what?
It's not a good idea.
Two. So you get two people together in the woods, and they go, "Did you hear that?"
Yes.
And the other one goes, "What?"
Well, this is what I was talking about earlier, and this is what I've noticed in a lot of. And please forgive me, all our American followers, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. But what I see a lot in the investigations in the United States is leading. This is the most haunted place in such and such. This is the most scariest place in such and such. So let's get in your audience already lined up to say, right, it's got to be scary. Oh my God, it's going to be scary.
See, that's the American. Well, the English do it as well. We've got very Americanized over the last few years, especially with commercials, adverts, and things like that. So everything is for the scare tactic, and it's got to be the title that draws people in, because people lose their attention after 15 seconds. If they haven't been given something dramatic in 15 seconds, it's boom, off. So and I think America pushes that more. So the people that are doing the honest investigations with the honest proof, they're not given the airtime.
No,
they're simply not.
And this is why I wanted Ghost 22 to be really focused on that. Now, Wacky Jackie is saying, I'd love to do physical mediumship. Okay, it's teaching time. What was the very first physical mediumship?
Are you asking me?
Yeah. Well, you, because you're talking to me, but everybody else they'll hopefully answer in the chat room. But what was the first physical mediumship? And you know this. You do know the answer.
And someone looked up to the sky and went, "Please, God." No?
No, think of the word physical mediumship.
I don't know what you're trying to ask me.
You know the answer to it. Do you remember when they all sat around tables and put their fingers together?
Yeah.
It was called a seance.
So it was actually, so when you say physical mediumship, you actually mean using my energy, your energy. See,
exactly.
That's not a physical thing to me.
Well, that's a physical thing, because you're using linked. energy through the palms and fingers, and the energy, your energy, and all the people sitting around the table energizes the table, and spirit uses that, so it's physical energy.
Yeah, I can understand that, because it kind of like, especially when you're in a circle, it creates a vortex for them to be able to come down and use your energy in the middle. But when you do the mediumship, you don't need a physical connection, do you? That's where I got confused, I think.
No, mediumship is when we're speaking. No, well, that's what I said. Physical mediumship. Mediumship is what I do on a Thursday night. But physical mediumship is when it's connected to a physical sense. And the second one part of a physical sense would be the planchette on the Ouija board. So that's another physical way of manifesting energy.
Yeah, but see, we were talking about this the other day, and it being called a Ouija board.
Yeah.
These labels for the Ouija board that's been commercialized and given a certain power that it doesn't deserve. I think, because we were saying about, we could call it an angel board or this, I think I could make one and make it an orgonite board, so those sorts of things couldn't come through, protect it with crystals and stuff like that, so it's
that's
not
possible. Yeah, that's no reason why you can give it a go. Give it a go.
Because they do worry me, because if it's a board that's been used before and we don't know the history of it, and I mean, there's always a possibility that something has attached itself, and it does make me nervous playing with those types of things.
Well, that's why I was very much keen on using the angel board.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's the connotation that's behind it. I mean, when I was first learning, we spoke about this before. When I first learned about, I'm just looking for Paul, to be honest with you. I can't find him. and I did chat with him earlier, so he must be in my chat room somewhere. Paul, oh, there he is. Oh, there he is. And so what I'll do is I will just chat to you. I'll finish off our chat. When I first learned about it, I remember sitting in a circle, and the teacher went, so next week we're going to be discovering and working with and looking into the Ouija board. And at the end of the night, I went over to him and I said, hey, listen, I'm giving next week a miss, and he said, oh, okay. And he said, why? And I said, because Ouija board's like, that's the area I don't want to mess with,
Yeah.
He said, and he went, okay, no, fair enough. And I went, and no problem, you'll be here the week after. I said, yeah, I'll be here as long as you're not doing any Ouija board. I'll be here. So as I was about to leave, he called me over to one side and he said, hey, listen, not that hey, everything's tickety-boo, no problems whatsoever. However, just let's talk about what you think is the problem with the Ouija board. And I said, well, they're evil, aren't they? And he went, why are they evil? He said, well, it's always connected to negative energy. Look at the, where people get, possessed and then. Okay. So basically on a Ouija board is A through to Z, or Z if you're American, 1 to 10, hello, goodbye, yes and no. I said, yeah. He said, so basically every book in the world should be evil then, shouldn't it? And I went, what do you mean? He said, well, every book in the world contains every single one of those words, letters, and numbers. And I went, oh. He said, it's not the board that holds the negative energy, it's the person using it and how it's used. If you use these boards correctly.
And the that it's made with. So.
Well, there was never anything about he had this beautiful, I think it was marble one. Actually, it was really nice. But it was said it's the act of what you do and how you do the ritual afterwards, and the cleansing and the clearing and the prayers goodbye and blah, blah, blah. And I went, all right, then I'll come. And I came the following week and I learned a whole pile of stuff that I didn't know about, and it would all filled my head from The Exorcist, and my head was filled with the propaganda of The Exorcist, and it wasn't negative. And I'd find out that Ouija boards were as common as kettles in people's houses, and if you didn't have a Ouija board, you were deemed as something wrong with you.
Well,
So
that's what Sunday get-togethers were about, wasn't it? Back in
yeah,
the
Sunday
Victorian
get-togethers, and people used to play with.
Well,
Oh,
yeah,
we're
they
going to
had.
play Ouija board.
It was part of their furniture. They had scrying. That was just a normal Sunday activity. They had the Tesla coils going, and they were trying to get the spirits through with that. They were doing Ouija boards and things, but it came to a cut-off, and all of that was just then called dark arts. You're not allowed to do that anymore.
Yeah. But then again, you got to also remember who it was.
People.
Well, yeah, but also you got to remember about who it was that actually decided to call it the dark arts. Now, I mean, if you're going to get wanting people to get away from anything in particular, you're going to give a bad reputation, basically, aren't you? And that's going to give everybody the whole idea of like,
there's good and bad in everything. There's absolutely good and bad in everything, and it's all about your intention, what you want to attract, what you want to see. If you want to attract bad things and you're intrigued in this, I suppose the beings that used to do that sort of practice, then fill your boots. I'm not out to look for that sort of stuff. I'm out to look for.
I don't. Well, listen. Like I said earlier in our chat, I can't teach like attracts like, and then just ignore that.
No.
So if you're going out there digging and trying to focus on a particular type of energy, then that energy is going to find you.
But I do think that there's just as many English, UK-based paranormal reporters and investigators as there are American.
Couldn't agree with more. There's a team here at the minute. There's 3 of them. I can hear my mom's voice. If you got nothing good to say, don't say anything at all. I can hear it. However, there's one thing that annoys me, that really, really annoys me, is people who say that they are something, and I know factually that they're not. So it's all about them. It's about sensationalism, as I've discussed earlier. This guy calls himself an ordained exorcist.
Oh, yeah. And they're normally
an absolute total and utter. I can't understand how the TV companies have allowed this, because that is not the truth.
Because that's what they pay for. Everything at the moment that's pushed is satanic and demonic and everything like that, because they want everybody to have more belief in that than anything like source, anything more powerful.
The very fact that he calls himself an ordained exorcist is giving 2 fingers up to the church, because not even a majority of priests become exorcists. Very, very, very few, and only very, very experienced priests ever get the opportunity, if they go looking for it. Of course, most of them don't, but they get selected to become exorcists, and it's only the very, 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 very select few get to become exorcists and they're already ordained priests. So when you get an idiot coming along going, "I'm an ordained exorcist," no, you're not. You're just proving that you're a liar.
So I don't believe that any born man or woman can walk up to somebody and say a few words and expel demons unless they are truly doing source's work. So you have to be pretty special.
I don't know enough about it, to be honest.
And cure them of their demons, which is normally caused through trauma that's actually happened to the person, trauma or illness or something has attracted. I believe in demons and possession just as much as I believe in God and angels.
Well, listen, guess what? I have our special guest with us tonight. Paul Obi-Wan Rowland is in the house. Good evening, kind sir.
Good evening, Paul. How are you?
I have been waiting for this opportunity for us to have a chat for how long now? How long is it since you and I first?
Quite a few years, actually, isn't it? Yes, we've talked before.
I was mesmerized by your whole everything that you do, and especially the creating of the kit, and I was like, and it was. I'm going to tell you this here now. the show's called Ghost 22 because that's when I decided, right, no, I really am going to go into that field. I've done 35 years of being a medium, a professional medium, and you've done it, never stood in anybody's tails. I did it all myself and got myself up there. But I think there's always two halves of any one coin, and the mediumship is one half, and the paranormal investigations and the proof of physical is the other half that makes that entire orb. And you know what? It's put me in front of magnificent people such as Dawn. I love Dawn a bit. She and I, it's like we're married. Honest to God, it's like
we disagree people, a
lot. When we're sitting having a cup of coffee in a bookshop in town, I'm like, shut up, you're talking crap. But then again, as I came across learning more and more about paranormal investigations, I came across Obi-Wan here, and I wanted to learn more. And you know what was really, really nice was he was instantaneously open. I'll help you all I can. I'll teach you everything. I'll show you what you can do and show you what. And I was like, now where are the rest of the people like him? He's the kind of guy I want to be around. So Paul, it's fantastic to see you. Now, I haven't shown anybody that first strip of pictures tonight. I will do shortly, but and I'm glad because I was going to put it on and I think let everybody look at those pictures and they're all going to start asking me questions, and I'm going to go, I don't know. So, wait till the man is on himself, and then he can answer the questions. Dawn, and you wanted to ask Paul a few questions, didn't you? So.
Yeah, there was one that I was trying to figure out, Paul, earlier. You get those strobe ring lights to clip onto the top of your camera.
Yes.
Have you seen those? If you take photos, still photos, under one of those strobe light conditions, what are the different images that you can pick up, if any, in those sorts of...
Well, are you talking about a light that actually pulses light, or or a photographic strobe?
They're like a ring light that you clip over your phone, so they're especially for your camera.
They're more or less just an extra bit of lighting. So if I was to hold a torch or an LED torch, they're more or less the same. The difference is it spreads the light equally in the view of the lens of the camera. They're not as special as the lights that I've built and I used. They're better than a flash, though. I'll give you that. People normally, when they go out on investigations, they use phones these days, but it used to be cameras on auto mode using flash, which I disagree with, because I think a camera flash is far too strong and powerful to capture what we're looking for, that of a ghost or a spirit or an image of that way. So right from the early days, I knew I needed something different. So the way you're going, if you've got an LED ring strobe, yes, that's better than a camera flash, definitely.
There you go.
Yeah,
you smart little lass. I didn't know she was going to ask you that. So, I mean, I have, and in the captures I've always got, I've had more captures on my phone than I ever did on my camera, and I was using big Canon, proper big, all singing, all dancing. But you've just answered why, because the light was obviously way too much for the capture. So yeah, that makes sense. But
when a camera's flash fires, either from a phone or from a much larger flash, it's like a massive wall of energy. Now, as we know, when we're doing investigations, we talk about the spirit world being a subtle energy form, i.e. a low energy form. Well, if you hit a low energy form with a high energy form, it's just going to knock it out. And in the case of photography, not going to capture what you want. You need a much more gentle, subtle form of light. The lower power LED lighting that I use.
That makes absolute sense to me. Just want to say that everybody in the room is saying hi to you, Paul. Just so you know, I don't know if you can see the chat.
No, I haven't got it here. But good evening, everyone. Oh, I can see it on my computer in the background. Yeah.
There you go. Everybody's going, hi, Paul. Hi, Paul. Hi, Paul.
Good evening, everyone.
I'm assuming they're saying hi to you, not me. So.
Yeah, to Paul. Yeah.
So Paul, I mean, go ahead, Don. Sorry.
I was going to say, what's your take on Ouija boards and stuff then?
That's a good point.
I steer away from using them personally. I don't mind being in a room. And early on in my paranormal days, I used to make a point of speaking to everyone with spiritual knowledge that I came across. And in particular, I spoke at length with a medium friend of mine who was quite against them. He, like I said, if people want to use them, that's fine. What he found, and I agree with, most people don't open them and close them properly. Therefore, they can open themselves up to generating their own fear. If they open and close them properly, ask the correct questions and accept the answers that might not be the answers they want, then they are a tool of use. But most people don't use them. I've stood around in the background and listened to people scaring themselves, and I've had to say, right, close this down now. This isn't working. This is what you wanted. So I've actually not forced them, but I've asked them to close them down just because they weren't going in the right direction.
Yeah.
Well, that makes that tells me even more about you, that you put the safety first and not the strive for to try and get evidence. Safety comes, and this is what I've always when I was telling the guys when we created Paraghost, I said there are rules. There are rules you got to follow, and the very first rule will always be safety, and that's not up for discussion. So you're brilliant on that front. While we're staying on that particular sort of ideal, I noticed that they're trying to create digital or electronic Ouija boards now.
Right. I haven't come across that myself. I have this issue with anything digital, but I'll refer it back to, people use like Spirit Box and apps and things like that. Well, I'm not quite sure what your opinion. My thought is, how would a spirit be able to manipulate or use a complex digital computer, that is your phone, to communicate? So I use pretty well all the time analog type audio equipment, which is older school, older scale, but it's not complex digital. And I've had audio contacts and audio recordings through that. So anything digital, apart from recording equipment, I tend to want to stay away from.
That's a really good point of view, actually. We were only talking about this the other day, about, how they were asking me how much stock I put in the apps, the apps like the Ovilus and so on, things like that. And I honestly, I'm very much like you. I said, well, I think they're all based on algorithms. They're going to kick off an algorithm. It's going to kick off a word at a certain time in a certain place. However, that being said, and I can't to this day, sitting in front of you, figure it out. But I brought the Ovilus up on my phone, and it said 4 words specifically in the cemetery we were in, connected to the cemetery we were in. And it said 4 words pretty much after each other. And I was like, sorry, Don, go ahead, Don.
Your devices are listening to you all the time. So it's quite easy to be manipulated by devices. It's like, that sometimes you'll be talking about something to your partner in the same room, and then the next day you go on YouTube or Facebook or something, and those things are being advertised.
Well, it came out with 4 words that neither of us, all the 6 of us who were there that night, none of us said any of those words. In fact, you had to take those words away, and you came back a couple of days later after researching, and they were all specific to that particular graveyard.
I could find information.
One of them was Sebastian. It came out with the word Sebastian, and we were like,
can I just ask a question there? Sure. The words that you heard, did they sound as though they were the words that you previously heard on the Ovilus, or were they out of context, i.e. much more of a flowing human voice?
Oh no, they were literally just they just came up on. They weren't audible voices. Right. Okay. They were just coming up with words, on the screen, and you'd see a build-up of an energy, and then it would go up with a name or a word, and I was like, yeah, okay, and I was like, I'm feeling the energy of the place. In fact, as I went in there with Dawn, and I said to my guides before I went in, I said, right, listen, I don't want to look like an asshole in front of these guys. So give me something, they're going to be picking up really, really quick. and they know all about it. And of course, Dawn and I we were walking side by side, and we didn't walk 50 paces before I said da 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 da, and she went, yeah. I was like, okay. It was like carrying on in, and it was really, really good. I hopefully we get you to the Southwest, Paul, because I think you'd have a ball in it. It was one of the most amazing cemeteries I've ever. I mean, going back to the 1600s,
Yeah.
14th century. Yeah, there's been people buried there since the 14th century.
It was just amazing. It'd be a place where you would have a ball, Paul.
Well, I mean, you might have noticed from some of my posts that Cornwall is one of my favourite places on planet Earth, and you're not far away from Portleven, which is my favourite village in Harbour Town.
I used to live in Portleven.
Yeah, I love it down there.
I used to live there, yeah.
One of my interests, just going a bit sideways from conventional paranormal, is within the tip of Cornwall there, you've got all the burial chambers and stone circles and things right down in Penwith. And I've always had a fascination, in the same way you're talking about churchyards being connected spiritually to those that have passed. I've always had this thought in my mind that these burial chambers, standing stone circles have got that similar connection, if only we could make it. Now, I haven't had a chance to do any investigation in that, but I've been building lots of equipment especially for that type of investigation.
Well, brilliant. Our doors will always be open to you. So if you if you got feeling in your diary, if you want to come down, we'll make it happen. That's not you won't have to just get your butt down to the Southwest. Don't have to worry about accommodation. We'll take care of all that for you.
I mean, I'll just give you a little hint. Most people use equipment quite rightly because that's all available. I'll go to the basics of, say, a K2, but I don't use K2s. I don't believe in them that much. But they are receiving devices. But I've been working on equipment that will project an electromagnetic vibrational and light field and then sense any change in that field as well. So that would be able to project energy into quartz or stone and then listen if there's any response back from it. As a 10 LED display, a live audio, and be able to record it, so it's an all-encompass type system.
That sounds just first of all, it sounds like you're a pilot, so using FLIR, but I suppose the idea is FLIR in another context, but FLIR being forward-looking infrared, so everybody else is what's he on about FLIR? Now, just keeping that same principle in mind, one of the things that I sort of been listening to a lot is the Ghost Box. Sorry, when I say I'm listening to it, I mean I'm watching it on different shows and what have you. Yeah. Do you put much stock in that?
No, unfortunately not. I mean, I know people want to use anything they think is relevant. I have a couple of issues with these types of machines. You've got the channel skipping radio type devices. Well, if they pick up a radio broadcast and they pick up the odd word from it, that is from a living human being somewhere broadcasting from a radio station. To me, that's not a spirit.
Yeah.
And it's the same with the apps that have got a pre-programmed database of 2,000 or 20,000 words. The machine is picking out the words. It's not coming from a spirit. Now, I did an event in a shop that's now closed, a party shop quite close to me, many, many years ago. And it was one of the first times I was using a device, and I'm just looking around. This is the next one I'm building for it. And it's a little pot of a mixture of quartz and pyrite. So it's a crystalline mixture. It has 4 electric probes inside it. So I will electrify through 2 and then use 2 as sensors. But this one is the next generation. This has got an electromagnetic coil wound around the outside. And that part of that actually came to me in a dream. So that's being made as part of a dream. Now, in the party shop event, we were listening live to this device, which gave a crackly static background. And actually my cousin, yes, it's generated white noise, but you can hear it and record it. My cousin who was with me, one of the things we do, we call out our names and ask if anyone can repeat it back through the equipment, because it's got that capability in live real time. And phonetically, we could all clearly hear her name coming back to her, Victoria, coming through that device of these crystals. And this is why I'm a bit hesitant about the ghost boxes and type of things. They use computer digital processing to produce these words. This is pure old-fashioned analog electromagnetic vibration. And I always thought through many conversations, that's the route to go down for spirit communication. So that's why I've been sticking to that.
That's
you know what?
I love all my my crystals. My husband's a demolition guy, and whenever he strips a house, I insist on having all the cables so that I can strip all the copper down, and I can make all my sacred qubits and everything to put into my orgonite, which works with the crystals and the metals, same as pyrite and quartz.
Yes. Yes. And I think that's all relevant. When you put all these things together, it's a mixed energy form, which has got, to me, to my thoughts, is a much more relevant bit of technology to try and communicate with those on the other side. I'm trying to work with how their energy would be, those in spirit, which, as we went back to before, a very subtle energy form. So the vibrations of charged crystals, and then be able to listen to the reaction. That's the difference. Most people haven't got the equipment to listen to the reactions from these things. It's just, I'm a bit gifted with the electronics to be able to build things.
Hence the name, Obi-Wan.
Yes. Hence the name.
Did you guys hear that knocking just then? Did you hear that?
I didn't. I was probably people
my button went, and I thought, of course, I forgot. The dog's in the next room. And I could hear this. I was like, just as you're talking about spirit, I was like,
pouring next to me.
And then I thought, of course, I'll put him in the next room. So he's obviously having a wee bit of a scratch. You nearly seen Paul Francis pass out and scream.
I've got a really old 1995 dictaphone with the tape and everything. Would that sort of thing work?
Yes, very much so. I would go down that route whenever possible. Digital is very much more convenient because you can do the recordings and then download to your computer. And there's nothing wrong with that, because that a digital recorder is just a recording device. Now, your tape recorder is a much more analog device. It's converting the audio that you're trying to listen to. It might be very, very subtle and we can't hear it with our ears. But the mechanism of converting that to electromagnetic, to go onto tape, and then to play it back again, that is one of the little magic elements that most people are missing these days. So definitely stick with it. Definitely stick with it. Yeah.
Well, coming from a musical background, from a musician's background, a lot of the big digital recording studios are coming back into tape.
Yes. Yes.
Because it loses a lot of there's something becomes when we record directly to digital hard drives, it becomes too clinical.
It loses
it's all too clean, and so we pass it through tapes to really. They'll say, producers will say, "Oh, we pass it through tape to warm it up."
Yeah.
So why not just record through tape in the first place?
Well, it's much more what I've been saying about the analog. Analog is audio from a microphone into an audio amplifier, onto a magnetic field, onto a tape, and back again. There's no digital processing, which, as you said, digital processing takes away some of the higher and lower frequencies. Why do you want to take that away? All musicians now are going back to vinyl because vinyl keeps the frequencies. It keeps all the relative frequencies.
And a warmth that digital doesn't. Yeah. I mean, you're right. The digital age has become a convenience, and it's got its place. It makes life. You can record instantaneously, very, very quickly, whereas before you had to spend.
I heard that.
That's the dog. He knows how to reach up and open the door, and it's him. He just walked in. He's looking at me, going, "Oh, am I in it? Yes, you're in it." And one of your things, Paul, which I'm hoping that you'll be like, I'm pretty confident you'll be like, "Oh yeah, go with that down the road." Our team is very much following your whole thesis, really. What I bought the other day was a couple of service bells, like ding ding service bells. Because I'd watched a UK paranormal team use them in, I don't know where it was they were researching, but they put them and they left them alone, and they were sort of politely responding to the energies around them, saying, listen, you know what a bell is. If you're in the area and you got the energy, please let us know by, well, the bell started ringing. I was like, wow, I'm going to go and get a couple of those. The other thing that we've purchased is the little digital ball. It's digital light. It's light through LED, but they only go off if something moves them. So there's no sound, or there's no other input other than something tapping it or giving it a wee bit of a nudge. So we're kind of going down that route as well. What's your thoughts on
that? So long as they're used in the right context, and what I mean by that is, a lot of people will just sit them on the floor and in places that it can be obviously accidentally knocked. Put them in context, take a photograph, so you know that it's in a place that you can then refer to and say, there is a device on the table, on the shelf over there. Can you try and affect it to make it light? But I see too many people that will leave them lying around on floors, and they are light. They can be moved by the draft of a wind. So
that's true. Yeah.
Used in the right context, yes, they've got value. Yes.
There's a question has come in for you. I just lost the will to talk then. I have a question for you, if you don't mind. How do you help energy souls? Do you give them some energy to communicate, i.e. bells? Oh, well, kind of that. Your question has kind of been answered in what we've just been discussing, Michelle. They have energy. We have energy. If Paul, please correct me if I'm wrong. We have energy. They've got energy. They use our external or additional energy to be able to work with. In fact, now that being said, and we were discussing about digital stuff, I've seen on a great many occasions, and including chatting with my old pal Derek Akora, where they've literally absorbed all the energies out of phones, cameras, torches, and they, these guys have gone in. I mean, they're all pros. They've gone in with their cameras all ready to go. They're pros. They didn't go in with a half-filled battery. They're all fully charged, and they're not in there 5 minutes. Zoom, down, empty, gone. And torches, they've just gone off, and literally the battery's drained.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
Well, that has happened to me. I've had a fully charged high-capacity battery drained to nothing very, very quickly, and this was in the King's Head in Chester. It's probably only happened to me a couple of times, but it has happened. So, yes, they're absorbing energy from an energy source. I was in Bodmin Jail a couple of years ago, quite a few years ago now. I was lucky enough to go there a couple of times, and we were standing in the cell area, and I was one end of the room, there was a couple of people the other end of the room, and I'd got equipment running. Unbeknownst to me, I'd got a torch, an LED torch hanging from the belt, turned on. I'd forgotten it was turned on, but what I didn't know was that was continually flickering on and off. It wasn't just an on-off like Morse code, it was flickering in brightness and then going on and off. And I suspect that was spirit connection. If I'd have known about it at the time, I would have tried to make contact through that by saying I acknowledge that there's someone around me, and making use or affecting the torch. So yes, most definitely. And I'll revert back to what I said about the crystal pot before. I apply a small voltage which makes those crystals vibrate. And then I'm able to then also take the energy, not take it, but listen to the energy, listen to the vibration. And this is how I've been able to get voices back. Spirits, I believe, are able to use that kind of kit and technology of vibrating crystals. But it has to be something, you won't be able to buy anything like that off the shelf. It's a little bit unusual.
Well, to be honest with you, sorry, go ahead, Don.
I've got crystal skulls, and they've all got their own little personalities. As soon as I take them off the shelf, they start talking to me.
Right.
So if I could get a spirit to come through something like that, rather than just listening to the history of the crystal.
Yes. Well, I mean, for that point of purpose, what I would do is, if I've got one just knocking about, right, make yourself, can you see that, a small coil of wire?
Yeah.
Right? Make yourself that. You'll need to attach it to, say, an audio recorder through a microphone socket. But what you will need is a device called a capacitor, which breaks the DC. So as you've got, I'm just trying to find an example of a capacitor. If your husband, or just find someone that knows, capacitor is a little tiny device. It lets AC through, but not DC. So if that's attached to one piece of the wire, I'm giving secrets away now, attached to one side of the wire and the 3.5 mil plug on the other. So that is one circuit. Either it directly into an audio amplifier or into a recorder, and use that to attempt to do EVP recordings and sit that on, underneath, or around the crystal skull that you're talking about, or any piece of crystal, and see if you get any responses to it.
Oh,
Wow.
that'd be a nice little experiment.
We're off.
That.
We're off and running.
If you have trouble, get back to me and I'll sort something out for you.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, but you can be assured that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I am going to start now looking for tape recorders. So I'm actually going to go down there. The thing about it as well, that was what I was about to say, was a lot. If you look into the history of shall we say, and I don't like to use the term, but ghost hunting. If you look into the investigations of a lot of it, a lot of better stuff was recorded, like you rightly say, on analog, on old school stuff.
Yeah.
So it sort of leans to say that that's better. Then it really does. I mean, digital, like we say, is quick, fast, and simple, and readily available to everybody who wants one. Yeah. I was more of I didn't understand the K2. I still probably don't understand the K2, but it's more of an engineering tool, isn't it? Really.
Well, briefly, a K2 is a small device with 5 LEDs, and it's got a sensor coil built inside. They are actually a very sensitive device, but they're not engineered very well. Now, I've modified a couple, and people that I've modified them from, a couple of people have had responses. So I've modified them in such a way that you can hear what the K2 senses. In my view, this is just my personal view, most triggers on a K2 are known causes. It could be a mobile phone, it could be Bluetooth, it could be a microwave. It could. The trouble is you don't know, because all you're looking at is 5 LEDs flickering, and they are not telling you the source. All the audio equipment that I use of that kind has got a 10 LED display and an audio output, so I can instantly tell if it's a phone, an electric light, or a microwave. And if it's anything other than the things I know about, that gets my attention. And we have had that on a K2 in a disused castle, no electricity, and we had a very, very unusual reaction from it.
Wow.
So that was a modification that works. That proves that kind of thing works. They're very limited to only 5 LEDs, but if they had audio, then they'd be a better machine.
So what's your take on dowsing rods and dowsing crystals then? Because I use my dowsing crystal quite a lot.
Now you see you're starting me on a different line of attack here, and you've got my. I've been fascinated by dowsing and ley lines, and I'll link in crop circles as well. I've been fascinated by it by years, because I can use dowsing rods, not particularly not crystals for dowsing, but dowsing rods. Yes, I've been round Avebury and even into a crop circle where dowsing rods have acted strangely. So I've thought about it over a period of time, thinking there must be some sort of electrical connection between whatever's causing the signal from the earth, the ley line or whatever it is, the energy line, and also as a human being that's being shown as a reaction on those two outstretched rods in front of us. So we're forming part of the loop or part of the chain, the reactions on the rods.
Yeah.
So I've actually built a device now. It wants a little modification where it's got 2 sensor pods that I would hold. They're fixed at about the same width that your hand would be, and it's got 2 LED displays. So if the right pod picks up a positive energy, the display will go to the right. If it displays a negative energy, it go to the left, and the same with the left pod. So I've got 2 devices linked together to react the same way like dowsing rods would. So they'd cross, but it'll be an LED display. Still with me as a human holding it, but it's my belief that we're connecting with some sort of electrical energy form, and I'd like to try and detect that electrically to prove it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Get in there. Well, you're going to have a heck of a time down here then, aren't you?
Because down here.
Because the ley lines cross down here at the Lizard Point. That's where they cross, and that's where there's an immense amount of ghosts and ghost stories from that area, but also an immense amount of UFOs in that area as well. So there's. I was wondering.
The thing is with ley line is a lot of people they visualize the ley line as just one line, but it resonates, especially the Michael ley line. It resonates to about 50 miles either side of its central point. So you have the main line, but the energy from that line resonates out over the whole of Cornwall.
Yeah.
See, moving back into my days of studying in college.
Yeah.
The Earth isn't on an axis like that. The Earth's on an axis like that.
Yeah.
It's slightly off kilter. So hence, and so the top of it's going to do that. It's actually going to move like that, even though it's spinning. So therefore, the outer, and I actually did study physics. So the outer forces that affect an orb that's doing that is going to affect it not in a straight line, which people say it does, but it doesn't. It's just going to affect it like that, and then that will then in turn affect the lines on the Earth. So I'm thinking, who better to have than Obi-Wan with us tonight to say, right, I can see where the energy, because the Earth moves like that. So the energy coming in a straight line from the sun, it's going to hit different points at different times and energize like that. So that's going to have an effect somewhere.
Also in Cornwall, why I've always thought it's a very, very powerful spiritual place is because there's so much granite very close to the surface, and granite has got this electromagnetic, electromechanical property about it. And I use granite in some of my devices as well because of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, granite's well known as a recorder, isn't it? And that's where a lot of ghosts, because we were talking a bit earlier before you came on, Paul, about the difference in ghosts and spirits, ghosts being the capture of time or a replay of time, and tend to be more around, like you very rightly say, because they used a lot of granite in building castles, and they used, as a very, very strong stone. And a lot of the older houses were built with granite blocks. But you've got a built-in recording device, so those older places tend to produce more evidence.
Cornwall is very interesting because it's got, my dad was a miner, but it's got more or less every single mineral. So every metal, every quartz, everything has been found down here. He used to say that they were mining for tin, but there used to be different conveyor belts for the gold, the silver, the copper, and that would just be thrown away. They were only after what they were after. But down here,
well, they're now going to open them up for lithium.
Well, there's a place that the place that Jason and I was talking about to you on Saturday, Paul, was Gwenet Pit, which was at one point it was the richest square mile on the planet.
Right.
So that would be really interesting to investigate down there, especially with the circular. Can't remember me what it's called now. It'll come back to me. It's like a stadium, but it's the circular on grass.
It's like a theatre type thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, are you talking about? Are you talking about the Minack?
No,
no, the Great Gwinnett Pit I'm talking about. But I know what you mean. Yeah. I'll just you just made me think about something as well. I said before I'd been to Bodmin Jail. I've been there about 2 or 3 times over the years, over about 15 years. There was only a small group of us there. I knew the guy who run it paranormally before the present hotel company took it over. And we were down on holiday this one time, and he gave us access for a few hours into the evening until about 12 o'clock. He was a medium, so I used to do a lot of exchanges of information with him. He'd pick my brain, I'd pick his brain. This one night we were not particularly in the cells. I think it was in a display room area, and I'd got the same device where we heard the voices in the shop. Now it was particularly reactive, so it was generating this white noise, which was very, very loud. The recorders didn't pick this up, but in my ears I could hear a male voice shouting, "Help me, help me, help me." Now I put that down to the fact of the machinery and the granite, and it was unlocking energy. So I think there's an awful lot to that.
Yeah,
I'd agree. I mean, I didn't catch a huge amount when I was there myself. I did get some stuff, but not. I was
Irish Paul.
I was probably expecting more because of all of the stories. So
And
I
the thing
was
is-
probably. I thought I was going to walk into like a room full of spirits and go right, one at a time, you know.
Yeah.
And I didn't get that. But so
Right.
sorry, Don.
And I think a lot of the places that you're visiting in Cornwall, you've got to remember that you're Irish and you're talking to ancient Cornish. And the ancient Cornish didn't really speak to strangers with weird accents.
Yeah, but the ancient Cornish and the ancient Irish languages are very, very similar.
Yeah, we are very, very similar. I totally agree with
Paul, you'll have to put on an accent and then you might get more.
No.
Well, actually, when I go home to Ireland, my pals go, "Ear," you know? Then they go, "My God, you're English now." And my daughter Maya, who's normally with us, she'd have been on the show tonight. She'd have just been asking you a ton of. I'm trying to bring more younger people into this field. So your teenagers and stuff. And we had 3 teenagers come with us the other night. I don't know if you found this, Paul, or not, but the 3 teenagers that we brought with us the other night, when it was myself, Dawn, and Amanda, we were the oldies, and we had 3 teenagers, and off they went into the darkness on their own, not a care. And I was expecting literally to be having to prise Maya off my arm, you know, not see you later, Dad, gone, boom.
They're a lot more desensitized now to what we were used to be.
Wow.
I was thinking about this, Paul, that I will actually commend you that the fact that whenever you do your programs and people ring in and ask questions or they're on screen or they type messages in, you always give a positive response. So if people start talking about negative energies and fear and people going to dark places, you stop them and say, no, that's not how it is. And I've done that a lot over the years. If people have said to me, oh, isn't it dangerous what you do? What's going to happen to me? And all this kind of thing. Say nothing. We're just trying to communicate that those have passed on. Imagine talking to your relatives into the room. Talk to them in the same way. And I have to commend you because I think that's what you've passed on to these young people. And the more that we can do that, I've done it myself, is to look after and show people the right way, not the scary, silly TV way of just showing fear.
Hallelujah.
Because I know earlier on you were talking about not going around doing investigating on your own, but if you Google it, it's closed now. But I spent many years at Plasteg. They used to do ghost hunt nights on Saturday nights, and I was part of the teams that changed over the years, but many times. And early on I challenged myself to walk around this house in the dark on my own. It's a 3-story house, dark place, sandstone. And I challenged myself because I thought, well, if something's going to happen, I want it to happen to me first.
Okay.
And nothing, but I put that down to the fact that I was doing it for positive reasons. I wanted to be there.
Yeah, I totally get you. Let me just jump in 1 second. But you knew where you were.
Yes.
You knew the house, and the house had floors and had steps. I'm talking about people who go out into places where they don't know, like outside.
Yes.
Like for example, in that graveyard that we went to, cemetery we went to, as Dawn was saying, there's open pits with just gratings over the top of them. And over
I
years,
want to go exploring down the mines and in tunnels.
There's hundreds and hundreds of years where we walked up to one actual grave where there was a beautiful big tree, and the tree has obviously been moved by the wind, and it pushed the grave up like that. And I was saying, if I didn't have my light and seen that, boom, I'd have been over the top of that. And there was a drop on the other side of that. So my whole reasoning being is, don't do that on your own, because if you do fall and get hurt, there's no one to help you. So that's what I meant by that. But if you're like going around, I mean, there are times in this very house here, which is very, very, very modern house. I mean, I think it's only been built 5 years, where I can switch all the lights off around this house and walk off to bed and think nothing of it. And then there'll be another time when I switch all the lights off and I think I need to switch the light back on again. And I'm like doing this, going, I can feel something behind me. So it's weird, but I don't put that down, because this house, if I took a run hard enough, I could go straight through one of the walls. It's one of those put up overnight houses, but it's the area that feels energetic to me. I don't think it's this building, because it's as I say, it's only 5 years old, but the area. And people say to me, "You're from Ireland." I usually go, "Really?" I was trying to figure that out. But anyway, they say, "You're from Ireland. It's beautiful." I go, "Yeah, no." They go, "What are you doing in Cornwall?" Hey, number one, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But I was drawn here. I had something inside me. I had an option of going wherever I wanted, anywhere in the world where I wanted, but I was drawn here. So
Yeah,
I think that is part of this energy we're talking about.
Goonhaven has got history of, well, I know for a fact that it's got military tunnels underneath it. It's very close to Perranporth, that was famous for mining. So all that history is there. You've got the Lost Church, which is over 1,000 years old, just a stone's throw from you. So it doesn't matter what they build on it. The history is still there and always will be.
Well, we were just talking literally 2 days ago about where we're going to start focusing our investigations, Paul. And I mean, I think probably some of your technology might come into play here too. But Cornwall is steeped in quite violent history.
Yeah.
It had civil wars, and the civil wars because Cromwell and his guys were going to the king, and we don't think so, pal. And the king was going, "That's my land. I'm taking it back." And Cromwell went, "Come and get it, then, mate." So we were going to then focus on specific areas where we know there were big battles. And what brought that up was Gettysburg. I was watching a show on Gettysburg, and I mean the amazing the amount of ghosts and stuff have been caught there, and sounds like cannon fire and shot fire and people screaming and men dying, and I mean that's unfortunately that's the world. This globe seems to just want to fight itself. But we were going to, Dawn and I and Amanda were going to say, right, we're going to look for the actual sites where we know they had full on army kind of battles. So, I mean, speaking from, let's put Paul the tech up first. Put Paul Obi-Wan. What would you say? Hey, listen, I suggest you bring this with you. What would you be?
I'd bring something like that.
What's that?
This is what I call Stone Tape One. This is one of the devices I built for Stone Tape technology. So it projects this. It'll have a couple of sensors attached to it. It will project energy, and then you'll be able to hear any responses from it. So it's that kind of.
I think, realistically speaking, speaking as a marketing consultant, which I trained in college for, I think that you should send us down to us and we should try it
out. But yeah, I focused on the use of technology, right? I mean, if I quickly go back, when I first started getting into paranormal investigation, it was specifically to build and use new technology because it was what most haunted weren't doing. They were messing about, basically. And I always wanted to see more and better technology. And then I realized that it wasn't out there. That's why I've gone on this path of building things.
Right.
So I started out specifically on lighting, live EVP, lighting for video, that kind of thing, and sensing technology. That's what this Stone Tape one is. But over the years, I became, I won't say attuned, but I had to acknowledge that although I was trying to do it purely from the science point of view, I was being communicated to by those in spirit. So I had to accept it. And I had an incident that happened to me that I put out of my mind for many years because I didn't believe what I'd actually witnessed. Wow. When I accepted it, then I started to become more attuned between myself and the technology and building in a better way. It sort of started to click together and get better results as well.
What a brilliant thing to say. I'm telling you what, I'd love for everybody in the chat room to send in. We were talking about this when we done about them sending us in their ghost stories.
Oh yes, yes.
I've got one you guys can try and beat. Right, 100 years ago when I was young, I was a fully qualified, fully trained, classically trained chef. Okay. So a few places around Ireland where I lived wanted me to come and work. And one of them was a place called Gosford Castle, which was an actual castle. If you Google it, you'll see it. And I worked in that castle, and I worked in the kitchens. And the kitchens were pretty much the same, with just some new technology put in there, but they were pretty much the same. But we had to stay in the castle. So one night we were coming, there's two parts of this story. One night we were coming down one of the big, the big circular, I can't remember what you call them, like a tower, if you want to call it that. And the stairs, they go right, the stairs go right down. So the walls are 4 foot, maybe 5 foot thick. They're big, thick walls. And of course, the nightclub in the hotel was in the dungeon right at the bottom. So we've got to walk down about 3 floors in pitch black. I mean, the only thing you know is your steps, and you know the wall is behind you because you're walking along with your hands like that. Next thing, there was me and oddly enough, his name was Frank, and me and Frank were walking down, and next thing, boom, like that there. And I mean, it was like that, boom. And I went, I suppose you think I'm funny, do you? Like, and he was like he was breathing really quick. What's the matter with you? He said, I didn't do that. How the hell could I do that? This huge boom came right through the wall. I mean, we felt it like that on our backs. Luckily enough, we made it down to the nightclub, and a few brandies later, we forgot about it. But anyway, lo and behold, I left the hotel because I was invited to come work in a 5-star hotel, and I thought, oh, I'm not going to pass that one up. Off I went. I had to come back and get my chef's kits. I had about 5 or 6 sets of kit. So I went back in, but the hotel was closed. I mean, closed as in not closed for the day, closed. So I walked around where the kitchens were, and the kitchen windows were about, 3 foot off the ground. So, they're huge, big windows, but they're only about 3 foot off the ground. So I could walk up to them at my waist level, and they were open all the way up. So I kept shouting, hello, anybody here? Hello. And so I climbed in and I walked through the hotel, and I was shouting the whole time in case anybody thought I was there trying to rob it. And then I had my backup, which was, how many robbers do you know come in shouting hello? So I thought, nobody's answering me. So I thought I'll go up the tower, and there was 3 rooms. There was the first chef's room, second chef's room, and then the girls' room at the top tower. So I went into what was my room. My whites weren't there. So I went into the second room. Again, no whites. So I went into the tower room at the top. So as I walked into the tower, he pushed the door open, and the room's completely circular. And I walked across, and I opened the cupboard, and I was looking in the cupboard like that. I felt like that. And it's a pity it wasn't filmed, guys, because I went and I didn't even bother stopping because I just caught my peripheral a wind starting in the middle of the room. Stuff that gone. And I was going down them stairs 3 or 4 at a time, running. I was running. Chicken. And I could feel this right there. And it was like that. And I didn't climb out the window. I promise you, with my hand over my heart, telling you the truth, I dove through the window. I literally dove like that through the window, and it went boom behind me like that. Oh my God. Top that ghost story. I got into the car, my girlfriend said, Jesus, what's the matter with you? I went, stuff the watch, we'll buy new ones. Let's go. And I zoomed out of the area. And that as I'm sitting in front of you now, hand over my heart, that happened.
Could you not have worked yourself up into a little frenzy there all by yourself?
I'll tell you what, the weird thing about it is that castle now has been converted into apartments. I would love to go back now and knock on the door and go, you had anything weird happen?
That's it. A lot of the places have been renovated and stuff, and we can't get access to them anymore.
Paul, a question at that time: were you sensitive to spirit? Were you medium orientated at that time?
I didn't know what a medium was, Paul, till I came to the UK. Okay. But I was sensitive to spirit. I was brought up as an Irish Catholic, but my uncle was a bishop. So it was very. If you dropped a bag of crisps in our house, you had to go to mass. You know what I mean? It was very, very but also the rules were very, anything outside of that is evil, which it wasn't, of course. But
No,
I was brought up with that. I remember I've shared it on the show many, many, many times. I remember the first time I encountered spirit was in our house in Ireland. The house is 350 years old, so but there was a gathering in the house and there's people standing around, and I was roughly around about 5.5 years old, and there was a gentleman sitting in the chair, and he was really kind to me. I mean, really, hello, and he was like, kind. And I went over to him and I said, hello, hello. And he kind of just patted me in the head. He didn't really speak to me. He spoke to me in something, but I can't remember what it was. But I remember getting this feeling from him as being really, really gentle, really, really kind. And he had this really, massive beard and the mustache, the beardy thing, And my grandmother said, who are you talking to, son? And I said, the man, that man. And she said, what man? I said, him there. And they were like, has he gone? No, he's there. Anyway, so lo and behold, they wouldn't believe me, sent me off to bed, off I went to bed. So I got up it was down visiting my grandmother about 2 weeks later, and she was going through some books, like photographs. And I went, that's him there. And I showed her a picture in the book, and I went, that's him. She goes, you could have been talking to him, son. I said, look, that's the man I was talking to. And he was my great, great, great uncle Hugh, who had died 20 years before I was born. And he was sitting in the chair talking to me. And at that time, and then I was telling the other night on the show, in the corner of our bedroom, we used to see this figure appear, my brother and I. And of course, we were like, it was like a group paranoia. The more I got paranoid, the more he became paranoid. And we'd hiding underneath the quilts. And I could see this woman standing. Well, I saw this figure standing in the corner, and it was only years later, Paul, when I was training as a medium, proper training, that where I was getting to meet my guides, that she stepped forward and she was talking to me, and she goes, "Yes, I was the one standing in the corner." And so it was Shan who's my guide. But up until I came to the UK, I'd never heard of a medium, never heard one. I was obviously real sheltered by it, but there's a thing where things happen. In Ireland, it was called the calling. Okay. And the calling is you're heading down the road to become a priest.
Right.
So, and everybody thought I was having the calling, including me. And my uncle was a bishop, so getting in wasn't going to be a problem. Your uncle's a bishop. That's kind of one down from Pope, So getting in was not going to be a problem. But I think I've told Dawn and a few other people, I was in the cathedral in Armagh. And again, this is another interaction with spirit, Paul. And I walked up to, because I could go where I liked. I was the bishop's nephew. I could do what I want. So I went in and I thought, right, at this point I was, 80% becoming a priest, that much time ahead. So I walked up to this beautiful pulpit in the Armagh Cathedral. Google it. It's, stunning. And off I went, a big staircase up to this pulpit, all red velvet, all beautiful. And I'm standing with my hands on the red velvet like this, looking out over the cathedral, thinking to myself, I wonder what it's going to be like to give a sermon. And I heard right behind me, not like this, and not this way. And I turned around thinking I was going to be told off for being up there, Yeah. And I heard it again, not this way. And I went, okay. Went down the stairs, and my mother was she was cleaning in the cathedral, brushing the floor, and she said, "Well, how did it fit?" And I said, "No, Mom, not like this, not this way." and she was like a whip. She was like Dawn. That's probably one of the reasons I get on really, really well with Dawn. Really quick-witted. And she went, well, at least I won't have to call you father. And she just carried on with her work. And that was it. Off she went. And I went, and I walked, I did the bow, the bow to show you respect. And I walked out of the cathedral, and I just felt, okay, I'm on to some journey now, but it's not the priesthood. And I ended up working in churches, spiritual churches. Obviously, when you're training, they put you out in the spiritual churches, so you build up how to work with spirit quickly, and so on and so forth. And I remember thinking, oh my God, this is what they meant. Not like this, not this way.
Mhm.
But
Right.
it's just mind-boggling. But some Michelle or Mike, I never know if that's Michelle or Mike, is saying, did you get your calling? Was it through traditional? Kind of no. I suppose working in a chapel or church is not really traditional. So Paul, so you were saying about bringing that unit with you, but what would you sort of going back into old traditional ways to go to a battlefield? What would you recommend we bring?
It's a bit difficult because I would take with me obviously kit that I would make and build and use myself. Something I'm not sure if it was you or Dawn said before about bells, and something crossed my mind that I was thinking to use something a little bit more subtle than the bell would be a singing bowl, and to sit a singing bowl on a cushion and have a microphone arranged to sit inside the singing bowl and ask to see if there's any response by vibrating the singing bowl and see if you get a reaction there.
And most of them made of copper, aren't they? So
would you make copper or selenite?
Well, a proper traditional singing bowl is made of about 7 different metals, but they're very hard to get hold of. The thinner wall, the better, to be honest, because that would be easier for a vibration to be picked up in.
Do you know what? I've got the very thing.
Yeah.
I've got the very thing. I actually have a bell, which is a singing bowl at the bottom, and it's made of wood. So if you can imagine a reversed C, like that, the top part is a little hammer, and the top and bottom part is like a singing bowl made of copper, and it's on wood.
What I would do is, this is just something that was sitting on the desk behind me. So there's a microphone in the end of what the torch, which is mounted on one of these little tripods.
Right.
I do. And I would have my singing bowl. I just get that in there, and the microphone right inside the singing bowl. You'll have to make a contraption to do that. And then you were able then to walk away, not right away, but walk away from the device and ask if you get a spirit response from it, which could then be recorded and played back.
Hey, see, if you don't ask, you never get.
How about, I'm on a glass table. How about a bowl of water or something like that? Because I can imagine with the Civil War and things like that, there would be a lot of galloping horses. So there'd be a lot of vibration on the ground. And if you're at a battleground and something is happening, if you had a bowl of water that was always still, obviously if it started vibrating, then that's a visual that you can pick up on, I suppose, of proof.
I did try experimenting with water many years ago, and what I did was got you can imagine a plastic container, one that would be tall enough to store spaghetti sticks, and cut holes in the side of it, quite big holes, and then put a bag of water inside that, so as the water could be vibrated from external sources. And then I put a microphone inside another bag and dipped it inside, so the water never touched the microphone, but the mic was listening to the insides of the water.
Right.
That I only tried it once or twice, and I should have stuck with it really. But for the type of place you're going, battlegrounds, I would try something like that. You'll have to make some way of waterproofing a microphone, and if you're lucky, you can still find them fairly cheaply in the low-cost shops and things like that. So, one that you can plug into a recorder, basically, to try and pick
a lot
up.
of them can. You can get a lot of waterproof microphones that go with the GoPros. So you can get. We are moving back to digital technology, but at the same time, there is that ability to say, at least it's weatherproofing, and they'd say water resistant rather than waterproof. So there's a big difference, as I found out.
But going back to what we said earlier about analog audio tape recorders, if you then combine a tape recorder with this external mic that you can put inside water, then you're doing something different than the digital recorders that are just using their own internal mics. I never like relying on the internal mics of recorders. I always have a plug-in microphone arrangement.
Gotcha. Yeah, the quarter-inch jack.
Yeah.
Well, thank you to Guardians of the Galaxy to revive the tape. So because of the movie Guardians of the Galaxy, tape sales have gone up through the roof. A lot of the artists are actually releasing tapes, and
yeah.
I mean, my daughter's got a vinyl record player. She absolutely.
Well, I tell you what, God, I went into a record shop the other day to look at the price of vinyl. Like, are you joking me? Like 60 and 70 quid for an album. And I went, I'm sorry, it's still made of plastic, right?
I couldn't remember. I didn't realise until Tegan bought this record player that we could listen to music, but we couldn't dance to it. Because as soon as you started dancing to it, the record would be jumping everywhere, crashing the records.
God, I had the same thing with CDs. At one point, I bought a CD. Oh, sorry, a DJ kit set. To play at something in between when the band was playing. I wanted to put on something and do a wee bit of DJing, thinking like, no, because the people were dancing, the CDs were jumping. And I was like, oh, what's the point?
One little thing, one little hint. It's not the ultimate answer. Is that if you can find somewhere online, they're not that expensive. Is a small ultraviolet torch.
Yeah, right. I've seen some of those. Yeah.
Yeah, and use this in conjunction with either a phone on a tripod or a camera on a tripod, because they don't give out as much light as a conventional white LED torch. But the energy from ultraviolet is far more relevant to trying to photograph those on the other side. But you'll need to adjust the camera for longer exposures. Hence, you need it on a tripod, 5 or 10 second exposure. Either paint the light around in a selected area or keep it focused in a selected area. And then you're absorbing 5, 10, 15 seconds worth of energy back into the photocell in the camera. But that's a technique I would try and use. But
I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm going to show momentarily the pictures you sent me, the one in the strip, and you can talk through that. But before I jump into that, there's another area that I know Dawn loves. Okay, she absolutely loves this. And it came about with the Xbox camera system, okay, where it produces, if it picks up, it sends out beams of light, as you know, and if it hits certain object, it creates like little stick men.
Yes.
What's your thoughts on that one?
I've not seen any good evidence that they are producing anything of relevance to our investigation world. It's based, as far as I'm aware, it's based on technology that produces a figure as part of a game. That's the way it was explained to me. Now, I have had one on my phone and tried it on a phone, and it was just producing dancing stick figures for no particular reason. There was nothing moving in the scenery. We knew it was a fairly sterile area. There was nothing happening. I could be wrong. I could be proved wrong that, they are picking something up. I've not been convinced so far.
I mean, I don't know if I buy the phone app one really that much. I mean, I know the Xbox actually sends out infrared beams of light. So there is a projection there that's supposed to hit. And you're right. The idea being was it's supposed to hit you, recreate you in a game. And that, so you're right. So the whole technology base is based upon it hitting an energy field, which we would then sort of construed be a spirit or an energy. And then it then says, oh, this energy is. But we did one where, and we were talking about hanging, and it showed one of these stick figures hanging, and we were like, wow.
Yeah.
Do we?
It's got potential, but of the there is a name for that. I can't remember this. Is it SLS camera? That's what I think it's identical. I've seen one in use and it produced no result whatsoever. This was in the King's Head in Chester, so it was dismissed. And this was the proper full working version. And I've downloaded. You can get a couple of apps on your phones that produce similar results, but not exactly the same. So this is why I'm saying at the moment I'd say it doesn't really grab my attention, but I could be proved wrong. There could
you're like myself. I'm sending these guys all the time. I said to Dawn, listen, Dawn, you know, I love you to bits, and you know, we'll always have our own points of view.
Yeah.
I can't buy into fairies, and I can't buy into the woodland creatures, but I am open to learning about them. I am open to it. I have said, have I said that or not? My
Yeah,
wife,
you said
who's
you're open
Wiccan,
to it.
she's like, you should pay attention when you're in, especially in the woods. Why? In case you walk into a tree, you know. So she's like, no, they've got the woodland creatures and the woodland spirits, and no. I'm like, I just say to her, especially if I can't sleep, I just say, tell me about Wiccan.
I don't
Then
do
she goes, blah,
Wiccan.
blah, blah, and I go, right, now, and Dawn's going to give me grief. And the reason why I'm going to do this really quickly, Paul, is because I know you want to get off, but I want you to explain to everybody these pictures. And I know Dawn's going to give me grief about taking the Mickey out of Wiccan. So,
well, just
Wiccan, so I don't
Paul,
do it.
just
yeah, go ahead.
well, I've gone off the screen. All I can see is Ghost 22. I'm not sure if I'm on. Oh, I know what you're
No,
doing.
you're on the screen. We're just in a line on the left.
Yeah. I did send you quite a lot of pictures. So may I put the suggestion forward that we just look at the one tonight that I sent you a couple of weeks ago, and then there's some
that's
other
the one that I'm going to show, because I haven't been able to download the others yet.
Oh, right. Okay. Right. So another time at your convenience, we can talk about the other ones as well.
There we go. That's what I've called it, Paul, Obi-Wan. So,
yeah.
There's 4 pictures there, and they're off the same thing, but you've done them with different. You explain, because.
I'm not sure whether you can zoom in at all on them, but the very top picture is basically a blank one that shows the background with nothing happening. That's the original scene. I can see it on the screen there. So that's the original scene. Now, we were in one of the back rooms in the King's Head in Chester, and there was only 3 of us in this room at the time. Me standing behind the camera. Steve was sitting to my left behind a big table. It won't be very clear because the pictures are quite dark. And David was sitting directly in front of me. And I think in the top picture, he's just in the view of the blue light.
Yeah.
Now, we were talking at the time. It was one of these times where we were quite relaxed. And we were discussing the point that this part of the building was potentially at one time used by ladies of the night some years ago. And this is what you might say, it's a story with no evidence, no written evidence, but it's one of these stories that stayed with the pub. So we were discussing at some time about it, and David, who had done a little bit more research about it, was explaining everything he knew. And at that time, I was with my camera, with the lighting system all set up. So on the top of my camera, I've got what I call digital lighting, which is projecting blue and ultraviolet light, but it's pulsing, it's modulating, it's rotating frequencies. And I've also got a device on the table on the right-hand side of the picture where you can see is purple light. Yeah. And that is actually a device that senses energy. There's 3 active sensors in it. And anything it senses, it reprojects back out as light. And I'm standing there taking photos as David is talking. So I've put the top one there as a one to say, right, this is the normal background, what I saw. The second, third, and fourth one are all the same image, but they're just viewed different ways on a computer. So the second one that's in bright blue was the first to catch your attention. Now, I'll say what I think it is. Other people might look at it and I draw a different conclusion. It looks to me like it's the cross legs of a young lady wearing a fairly short skirt.
Yeah,
illuminated.
that's exactly what I say.
Right, I'm glad you saw that. And she's sitting cross-legged, one knee over the other. She's out of context. She's slightly higher than the ground should be, but I can't explain that other than either it was a long time ago or the scene was different at the time. The third one down, is just a pure black and white. All digital images are made up of 3 black and white pictures, red, green, and blue. So the third one is the black and white version of the blue. Yeah. And then the very bottom one, which is the most interesting one, is I've emphasized the blue. I've enhanced the blue. And what I notice, I mean, Dawn and Paul, just tell me what you see about the very bottom image. Is there anything you notice about it before I say what I've seen?
Well, I'm seeing Dawn. I mean, Dawn will tell you the truth anyway. But when I kind of bounce between the bottom and the second one, and even flicking through the third one, as I see a face.
Right.
It's like if I'm, it's almost like the profile, like this profile,
Right. Yeah.
like that. So,
Yeah.
and again, I don't want to lead people. People see your own things,
Yeah.
but I can see
Yeah.
the top of it being the shape of a head, coming down to a chin, and then following what looks to me like a profile. But like again, I'm just going to say what I see. It's
Yeah.
that game show, isn't it?
Yeah.
Dawn,
No,
is there anything you notice about it?
yeah, this is the second one. I can definitely see the little girl that you're saying about, and it looks
Yeah.
like she sat on a really thick cushion.
Yeah, second and third, I can see both that. Yeah.
And
In
Yeah.
fact, the third one,
the
I can see it
bottom
absolutely.
image just looks like the energy that that little girl would give off.
That's it. It's a good observation. I see more into it than that, and I'll explain what it is. It basically, the picture is slightly blown out because I wanted to see what was going on at the very bottom edge of the picture.
Hmm.
What it looks like to me is there's a point source on the floor that appears to be an opening, and I'll use this word, a portal. Now, it's a word that's very often bandied around in the paranormal world, but it's generally speaking, it's only a word people like to use it. But what I see there is that there's a small opening in the floor, and there's an opening out flow of what looks like smoke that then becomes the big flare of light. And
All
it's
right.
like a genie coming out of a bottle.
Yeah.
And at the very, very bottom, you can see flare lines like the openings of a magnetic field, which then expands out into, in the bottom picture, the big white blob, or in the second one down, it's the blue image. It's the same image. But the bottom
Yeah.
one illuminates it more, that it's appeared from the floor level lifting upwards, which is directly in front of David where he's talking.
Yeah, I can see.
Yeah.
I can see. I can see what you're talking about. It looks like a dark chasm right at the bottom, and then
Yes.
it sort of comes up like that, and then into that big
Yeah.
And
ball of
Yeah.
light.
if you look at the blue light one, now zooming
Yeah.
in on it, it looks
Yeah.
like the source where the portal is. It looks like the energy is coming out of there and like arched over the figure that you can
Yes.
see.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Now, there's one other little point about this is that I'm hoping to be involved in a project called the Close Project sometime probably next year, and it's a point of a very small group of people but focused minds to try and combine technology and communication with the spirit world. Now, that night there was only the three of us, and we were three very sensible, level-headed, not scary, not shouty people. We were there for a purpose that we wanted to work with and acknowledge the spirit world. Now, I believe that's the absolute best way to go, is focus mind people, because it was our combined energy with that of the technology that allowed what I believe to be the spirit of a young lady sitting there to come through.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I
Definitely.
mean, you can't dispute the fact that there's a lady sitting there that's cross-legged. That's. I mean, anybody who disputes that is clearly off their mind. As you go backwards, sort of from back all the way back up to one, as I'm looking at what I saw, which was the shape of, like, it even looks like a head to me. I can see the whole head bit. As I go from the very bottom fourth, we'll call it picture 4, all the way right up, I can still, looking in picture number 1, I can still see the eye line and the sort of nose line of what I thought I saw. But when I'm looking right down to the bottom, I do see that chasm that you're talking about,
Yeah.
and it's just sort of starting to show itself around picture 2.
Yeah.
But
It,
that's really
to me,
interesting.
it's a flow of energy that's emanated from a spot on the floor.
Yeah.
Now, whether it's right or wrong, but to me, that is my example of what a portal would be, that an opening of which energy has flowed and become a figure. Now, on that night, I took about 9 photos, and that one with the blue, with the lady sitting there, that was the only one that she appeared on. And the camera I use is tripod mounted. It's a high res digital SLR camera.
Mm.
This was shown on a TV program, and the idiot that commented on it saying, "Oh, that's camera flare," and they didn't even bother to contact me to ask for context of the photo. So I
Yeah.
thought, that's the last time I will submit pictures where I'm not allowed to comment on because I've got a different explanation. They didn't ask anything about it.
Well, I mean, I wasn't going to show these pictures without you being here. Let's put it that way. Under no
There's
circumstances.
no debate. It's just, what's the point in if you've got no debate and then they don't want to discuss the proof that you're showing them?
Yeah,
they aren't worth it. Their minds aren't open enough to any
No.
sort of proof you give them. So leave them do their thing and we do our thing.
yeah,
But absolutely. I mean, I had this to be able to look at this. I put the screen right into my full computer screen so I could actually see what you were going to ask me, and now just coming back, and I'm like, the chat room has gone quiet. So I can imagine everybody in the chat room going,
well, we wouldn't have time tonight for a proper discussion, but there's one of the other photos when you get to download them. Don't say anything live until we look at them and discuss them. But one of the very last ones is very, very interesting.
Well, all of your stuff's interesting. I mean, I find you interesting since we first even went, hello, how are you? And from that moment forward, we chatted periodically.
Those pictures are particularly good because it's not just the figure of a spirit you see. You also see the energy that it's come through with.
Yeah.
So a lot of these fake pictures that you see are just a random figure walking through a graveyard or standing on the stairs or hanging upside down.
That being said, I did capture an amazing one, didn't we, Don? Say we as a team, I captured one, and weirdly enough, it was a young lady sitting not as concise as yours is by any chalk, but when you sort of highlighted the energy, you could see her sitting there with her legs crossed over like this here. To be able to help everybody else, I just literally drew around the outline with a white pen so people could see it. Yeah. But yours didn't even need that. I mean,
no. And I'll go back to what I said before about ultraviolet light. This is the big difference. This isn't a flash photo. This is just the light source on the top of the camera and the light system on the floor. I think there's an interaction between all the technologies and us as people, myself, Steve, and David.
Yeah.
And Spirit has come through and become interested in what we were doing. But yeah, as you quite rightly said, it doesn't need particular highlighting. That is quite an interesting photo. But it's the light. The light is the most important part. Use ultraviolet light where possible.
Well, do you know what? That's the area that I'm going to start trying to get for us to go down. Because it's definitely there. And like we said, I'd like you to come and guest on the show as often as you like, because I mean, it's not only necessarily that we're showing evidences like this, which is just, as far as I'm concerned, class A1 evidence, but it's your teaching about how technology should be against how technology is. And again, what threw me, and this is me personally as Paul Francis, as the person, just is too many apps came out too quickly.
Yeah.
It just didn't show to me that that it had been researched properly. It had been created for it to do a job. It just arrived, and I was like, okay. Mm-hmm. And Don and I have chatted about this. We openly speak. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And I will always honestly give an answer. Always honestly give an answer. You'll never get anything other than that from me. But the highlight of this show to me tonight was you saying how I come across to you. That was I was like, yeah.
I've always thought that about you, Paul, that you've always been extremely honest, but more importantly, extremely calming about communicating with those in spirit. To me, there's nothing frightening about it. It's talking as if there's someone there in the room. So that's having respect and showing them respect. They're not going to harm us. Then we want to live with people.
It's like I get really and Dawn, she's the same as me. It bugs the living life out of me when I hear them trying to taunt spirit and going, "Oh, clearly you're not there." Blah, blah, blah.
Do you know what? It's the ones that get me is the ones that have been bitten and scratched and clawed, but they've spent the last half an hour asking to be bitten, scratched, or
Yeah.
clawed.
Yeah.
And then they go running out like, why did you do that to me? It's, you get what you ask for.
Yeah.
Well, we're zooming in on time, by the way. We've gone half an hour extra than we normally do, but we had a very, very special guest this week. But I was in that place up, and I forgot the name of the pub now. Most Haunted did it as well. It's right in Chester area up there.
Ramming, Skirrid.
No, I forgot what it was. I did show you. I showed the video footage of it. One of the shows done.
It was at the Skirrid Arms.
The spirit came right up to the camera. It was my wife that said to me, "Be careful," and I was like, "Well, you know, Bait Hall. They are Bait Hall." She said, "She goes, be careful. You know, they're telling me you're going to get harmed tonight," and I was like, "Oh yeah, bring it." I'm sitting in the pub part where that's not the haunted part. The haunted part's all different area, and I'm sitting there, and it's an L-shaped seat like that, and I'm in the apex of the L seat. People down this side of me, people down that side of me, and people in front of me all sitting. We're just having a break, and I got this burning sensation on my hand. I was like, "Wow, that!" Right down my hand. And I took pictures of it. They are somewhere, but I got scratched right down my hand like that there, and you could see the free claws like coming down my hand.
I'd be so cross.
And Johanna went, "I bloody told you, didn't I?" I said, "Did you sure you didn't send somebody to go and do that?" You know.
See, I've always approached investigation in a very calm, polite, respectful way. One night in the King, I spent a lot of time at the King's Head. I'm very grateful to the landlord at the time. He allowed me a lot of access there. And we were in one of the rooms one night, and it was a summer evening. So I had bare arms, and I felt, if I do that, child's hand do that to me. Now, it wasn't the scratch that you're talking about. It was just a nice, gentle acknowledgement that they were there. And then I saw the child walk around the back of me and off over the other side of the room. So my approach to me pays off because I've never had a bad time. I've never had anything like that happen to me.
Well, I'm the same as you, and you mean obviously it's come across that I've tried to be honest, open, a positive influence on what we do. Yeah. So I think these were just like, really, we'll show you.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, well, do you know what? It didn't put me off. It's up your neck of the woods, Bait Hall, it's called.
Oh, right.
And it's somewhere I think you and your team should definitely go and have a visit. Most Haunted did it. Not that that's a big thing. But, I mean, I sat in Derek's house in his kitchen, and we were dealing with a completely different kind of spirit. And he was the Derek Acora showman wasn't there. Derek Johnson was there, and we got to chatting about his Irish heritage, and we were just chatting, and I thought, this is the only opportunity I'm going to ever get to ask you, really. We were supposed to do tours together in the whole 9 yards, and I said, Derek, why do you do that? I said, look, we're friends. And he said, yeah, we're friends. I said, why do you do that? Why do you do this? I know you don't get possessed because it doesn't work like that. Yeah. And he said, Paul, they told me if I don't do it, I won't get paid.
Yeah. And that was the same as all of them. It's the same as these American ones saying demonic and Satanists. They're sending them to all the serial killers' houses to get likes and clicks. It's not about finding out about the truth.
No.
It's all about that other person we were talking about earlier on, Dawn, whose house is down here.
Yeah.
It's all about sensationalism.
It's all very well. I'm really interested in the evidence that people have found down there, but I'm not interested to go in and see what he's got to say. Like you said earlier, like attracts like. And if you go out looking for somebody that always dabbled in the dark arts and that sort of thing, then that's what you're going to get. You're going to get scratched. You're going to get bite marks. You're going to get claws. Because they sacrificed a lot of things there.
Can I just ask you a question each?
Of course.
Is protection? Do either or both of you do it? Believe in it? Believe it works?
Absolutely, without shadow of doubt.
Yeah.
Without doubt.
I believe I'm divinely protected. So bring
Yeah.
it on. If the devil wants to come and knock on my door, he knocked on the wrong door. But I do actively take part in my own protection. So I will take Orgonite with me. Paul will tell you that when we went to our one down at Kenwyn, I had my Orgonite pendant on and it burnt a mark in my chest. I have one in my pocket. I take my obsidian and my iron pyrite. I had smoky quartz with me as well. So it's all about taking part in your own protection.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Psychologically and physically. So you have to take. It's not just taking part of protecting yourself against bites and scratches. It's mentally as well as protecting your aura. So you've got a lot of things.
Absolutely. Your aura is as much a defensive as it is a sponge. So it's like, Paul, if you walk into a place, you're instantaneously feeling the place immediately. It's not like when you start to set your equipment, you walk and you go, ooh, I bet you tonight's going to be fun, because your aura is interacting with the energies around you. So it's absorbing the energy. So what I teach, and I've been a professional medium for 35 years now. But you create a bubble around yourself that is reflective on the outside and gold on the inside. And that bubble cannot be penetrated by anything or anybody. But the reflective it's called the mirror technique. And the mirror technique is, it's something that I taught it was taught to me first, and then I teach to other people. We have people called psychic vampires. Okay, you probably come across them yourself. They're actually people who they're around you and they start going, "Oh, did you know such and such is doing this?" Da, 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 blah, 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 blah. And by the time you're finished your conversation, you're like that, going, "Oh, would you ever go away?"
Yeah.
When we refer to them as psychic vamp, I don't say, "Would you ever go away?" There's a couple of Irish words come in there. Let your mind expand that. But I was taught a technique called the mirror technique by my teacher, and she said, "Try this." So the next time if it happens to anybody, yourself, Paul, or Don, or anybody who's watching the show later, imagine a mirror right between. So if not that Paul would ever be a psychic vampire, but imagine a mirror between Paul and I. Okay, and it's a two-way mirror. In other words, I can see through, but he can't. Okay, like the windows of an ambulance. So you can see out, but nobody can see in. So what's happening is the energy that Paul is giving off is actually bouncing back to him. So it's bouncing away. And pretty soon the psychic vampire won't come around anymore, because they'll just keep getting the energy they give off back at them. So what I did is I took, like you take your technology to different levels. I then thought, okay, if that works this way, it's gonna work like this. So I create everybody with an orb around them that completely sort of encompasses them. Silver on the outside, gold on the inside, because gold is a protective, strong, and empowering metal and energy. So it's powering you, protecting you, making you feel good, and at the same time you're being reflective on the outside. So I've never known it not to work.
I used to, protection came to me, I don't know how, when I was about 14, way before I was interested in paranormal, but it was shown to me one evening or over a period of time. And I never fully understood what it was about at that time, but it became more obvious when I got into the paranormal world. I used to talk to mediums and spiritual people a lot, and they explained to me their different techniques. And I thought, oh, hang on, dig back in my mind, and this was something that was shown to me by I don't know who, but a long time ago. So I'd already got it built in. But then I used it to a small degree. For a little period of time, this is going to sound odd, but for a period of time, I was a taxi driver, well, for a long time. And sometimes, as you've just said, you get the psychic vampires, the people that just, you would rather them got out the car as quickly as possible. And I had to put that block up between us, really. And then they could grab it away as much as they wanted. And I was in my world and they were in their world, and there was this block between us. And that's how I got through that, survived that. Nothing bad happened to me taxiing, but I believe part of it I used at the time. If I ever thought somebody was going to be ill in my car, I would project wellness to them so as they weren't ill in the car. And I never had anybody unwell.
There you go. So you took it
That's
to
why.
its limits and did the right thing. You pass them off with. I was actually taught this by a brother, and he was a brother. You know, the hoodie and and he was an ex-brother. He left the brotherhood, and he said to me, you know, it doesn't matter who attacks you, just send them away with love.
Mm.
And I said, that's easier said than done. First of all, I'm Irish. Secondly of all, I'm Celtic. Thirdly of all Celts come from Norway, so we're Vikings, and we want to fight. So he said, no, go into yourself. And he did he taught me to do exactly what you've just explained. Send them away with love. And, you know, and then after a while, after you do that, it becomes automatic.
Yes.
You just go, hey, it's okay. Listen, go have a great day. Have a fantastic day. You deserve it. All the best. You might be thinking in your mind, what an asshole, but you send them away with a nice, happy, love, enjoy your night. And yeah.
So long as they handed over that piece of gold or silver at the end of the journey.
Absolutely. Totally.
My Orgonite, that's how I discovered. That's how I went more down the energy route of everything, because I found at the beginning of lockdown, there were so many negative people out there, and all they wanted to talk about was negative things. And every time I stepped outside the house, they were like limpets, just either telling me off for having my own mind and doing things my own way and not going with the crowd. And I needed to be able to go out and function without having to worry about those negative energies attaching to me. It was literally like I was a light bulb when I walked out the door, and everything was just so I started making Orgonite and carrying crystals down my brow. And as soon as I started wearing
too much info.
Orgonite,
See, Paul and I went, oh.
I know. But as soon as I started wearing the Orgonite, it's like it repels them. There's nothing wrong with my bra. It's at least 15 years old. But as soon as
it's what's in your bra we don't want to know about.
No, it's not pretty. But as soon as I started wearing my Orgonite, I found that I could see the negative people walking up to me, and then they would it was like they got a little electric shock or something. I went, oh no, don't like that, and they walked the other way. And I was walking around Tesco's thinking, this is amazing. I haven't done Tesco's for ages without having somebody walk up to me and say, you're in my way, don't breathe on me, just, oh my God, it was a godsend for protection in the physical world as well as
this is why man
invented
the internet, so we don't have to go to Tesco's, so we don't have to go to Sainsbury's. Man invented the way that he can go shopping without having to interact.
Yeah, it's called growing it in the garden.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen of the world, would you believe that we've been on 2 hours? 2 hours and 8 minutes. And there is enough energy to carry on for another 2 hours. However, I don't want to do that. I want to bring Paul back and leave. There's no saying in the entertainment business where I'd spent a vast majority of my life is go leave them wanting more. Always leave them wanting more. Paul, you have been first of all, you're our first guest.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the invite.
It's been how we're going to better you is that the next bit. How the hell are we going to beat this? So
well, you have got some more photos on the way, and
yes.
You will be making some interesting comments about those as well.
Well, I'm going to look at them. I will show them to Amanda and Dawn, and the team, but I won't put them up live until you're there. I promise that much. I will promise you, because you're just a delight to have, because you're an easy gentleman to chat with.
Thank you.
Your tech head is just literally you've earned the name Obi-Wan. Literally, you have. I would love to be able to use some of your equipment when we do our investigations, and we would definitely be saying buy your kit from Paul Obi-Wan Rowland, and they should be able to come to you if they want to buy some equipment from you. Ladies and gentlemen of the world, I am saying this with absolute, total and utter focus. Go and see this gentleman. He knows exactly what he's talking about, and he will not only help you, he'll educate you. What better?
This is confirmation. So Paul only said to me tonight that Paul was coming on. So I didn't have any chance to do any research on you or anything. But I wrote down that strobe light question, and the vision I had in my head was the violet flame in a graveyard. So that kind of like links up your violet light with your strobe light. So I was getting confirmation before you even came on.
Now you're on the right track.
Yeah.
Well,
I tell you, you'd be a hard person to read for a medium. I'll tell you that you would be a definitely difficult, hard person to read. If I was going to read for you, I wouldn't want to see you. I wouldn't want to visually see you. I mean, I'd read for you. Like we'd have blank screens, and I'd say, right, okay, Paul, listen, I'm getting this and that and the other. It's basically like what we call doing blindfold readings. I used to teach my teams, and I'd say, right, okay, I'm going to put people around the back of the room. You're going to sit in the chair with your back to the team. I'd blindfold you, and I will send one person forward, but I will pick that person. So I would say to the person sitting in the chair, you can try and imagine this, somebody sitting in a chair like that, they're blindfolded, and there's going to somebody start walking behind. So I'll say, take one step at a time, and as soon as the person in the chair can feel them, say stop. So you'd get them sitting there, and the person would walk, stop, and the reads were unbelievable because they weren't looking for visual confirmation of somebody going, oh, you know, they were just going with their instincts, which is what I feel about you, Paul. You go a lot with your instincts.
Oh yeah.
And then you bring in knowledge. You get instinct first and then back that up with knowledge, which is my kind of person. Dawn's very much like that as well, and so is Amanda, and you know, quite a lot of people that seem to surround me are very similar of similar ilk. So that brings me right back to my other teaching, as if you want to surround yourself with successful people, then do it rightly, put out the right vibration, you'll draw the right people to you. But if I was going to read for you, I'd want to do it so I can't see you.
Okay.
But it would be interesting because you're a very honest and very open guy, and that's all you need, to be honest and open. But your tech mind is second, and I love where you're sitting doing the show. I absolutely love it.
What
you're not sitting in some big,
the background.
Your background is brilliant. I love it.
This is
my garage.
I love that. Do you know what that reminds me of? Do you know your room reminds me of? Do you know when Harry Potter goes in to buy the wands?
Oh yes.
That's what it reminds me of. All of Anders.
This is upstairs at the back of my house. I refer to this as my laboratory.
Your lab. I love it.
I have a crystal cave.
It reminds me of all of Anders. But the thing about it is, I used to go to a little hardware shop in Lurgan, where I'm from, and it was just like your room. But the weird thing about it is the little old gentleman who was in there was very, very quiet. But if you said, I want X, Y, and Z, he knew where it was.
Yeah.
You just looked like somebody who went in and just went through everything like that. But he knew exactly where to get it. Yeah. And I love it.
I've got a shelf behind me over the shoulder here, and that's my most interesting area. That's working projects, and I know that there's lots of wonderfully interesting things there.
Before we let you go, and you just brought a question in my mind. Now, I'm going to flick it back on you. Now, you know what you do. Spirit knows what you do. Have you ever had anything happen in your room? Because of what you do.
Not in here, but I do get indications and ideas in dreams. I do literally wake up some nights with a circuit in my mind, or a particular method of making something, or putting some components together. I won't say a name, but I've even had a confirmation from the wife of a rock star who is still alive, who doesn't know me, but in a dream one night, I showed her an object and she said, yeah, that's the way to go.
Wow.
So I can't not follow that, can I?
Yeah, well, no, you can't. That's right. I tell people, don't back me up, I call those visitations. I don't call them dreams, because a dream is a situation where your conscious and subconscious are working together, and they create like a little movie, and that's the best way to describe a dream. And you forget it. But if you're getting a visitation, which clearly it is, because you remember everything about the visitation, and with yours, it's a little bit more intricate. Circuit board, jeez. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and when
you know,
I think when it's a message, you don't forget the details.
No, no,
When
no,
it's a
no.
dream, you kind of like pass over it and it fades in
Yeah.
time. But the message, you remember whether it was today or 10 years ago, the exact
Yeah.
same details.
So I do have to keep a notepad by the side of the bed just in case I wake up with something. But usually, if I've had a significant idea, it's with me there in the morning, and it's there to make use of.
it's just blown my mind. That, I used to do that with songs. I'd get a lyric come to me,
I get that.
and I'd
Songs
write
and
it. Have to write it
film.
down. And it's brilliant, ladies and gentlemen. It's wow. I could literally carry on, literally, but I don't want to. I want Paul to come back. Oh shit! I'm not going to another 2 hours, Paul. I'm supposed to come on for 20 minutes and then it's all off again. My soup's freezing cold now. You know, so
We'll carry on and we'll do it again and we'll pick up where we left off.
I have no doubt, because you're that kind of person. Ladies and gentlemen, please come together. I know you're all in your room, and give Mr. Paul Rowland a round of applause. Thank you so very much. I can't wait not only to have you back on the show, but I can't wait for you to come down to Cornwall and spend some time with us.
I'll make your pasty.
She's reading my sodding mind. She's doing it again. I said you're going to have to taste some of Dawn's homemade pasties. But everybody's giving you bravo, Paul, as I'm sure you'll say. But you're an absolute treat to have on board.
Thank you.
And I genuinely need to get in touch with you, because I do want some of your kit, and we'll put it to absolute use, and we'll make it happen. I will not be back this Thursday night, ladies and gentlemen. I will not be back. I'm having this Thursday night off. 2 reasons. Number one, it's Halloween. Number 2 is my beautiful. My beautiful wife is actually in Exeter Hospital that morning to get all the way up there to do all of that stuff, association with her upcoming. She's going to go under the knife up there, which we know the outcome's going to be great, because we're going to get rid of that cancer. Everybody knows all about it, so it's okay. So we're going up there on that morning to do a pre-op thing with the doctor. And by the time we get back that night, I'll be too damn tired. So I'd rather give everybody a night off. So the next show will be once again Ghost 22, and I'm hoping to have another guest on. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But please, 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 they're going to have to step up to the plate to match this man, because I have learned a ton tonight. I have met another pal, and our doors are open to you, pal, anytime you want to come down.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Definitely.
So, ladies and gentlemen, good night to Paul. And Paul, I'll catch up with you a bit later on, pal.
Okay.
Thanks very much for your time,
Paul.
mate.
You're right. Good night. Thank
I'll
you.
see you all very soon.
Thank you.
Cheers,
all right.
pal.
See you next one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
What a rock star.
Wow.
What a rock star.
He was cool as.
Oh, what a fantastic way to our first guest. I'm not having any more guests. I don't think we can bother tapping it. There's no point. We'll just have Paul come in once a month and do this stuff.
No, he's the start of things to come.
He is the start of things to come. And you know what? I can't wait to have him come on. What I'd like to do now, right? Dawn and I were talking about this the other day. We want to invite you, right, to not only send in whatever captures you have, photographs of orbs and so on and so forth, but we want you to share I shared my ghost story tonight, well, one of them, about it being in the castle, right? I shared that ghost story with you tonight. I want you to share your ghost story with us.
Yes.
Well, Dawn and I. Write it down, yes, but why don't you come on as a guest?
Yes.
Come up as a guest and talk to us and tell us about your ghost story. Tell us what happened to you. We are genuinely interested, aren't we?
I want to know. I am the nosiest person on the planet, and I want to know everybody's experiences. I am. I want to know everybody's experiences so that I can make an informed decision in my tiny little brain.
You want to see her with a big hat and being on the broom, flying around the house. It's amazing.
That's for Halloween.
That's every day.
I got me Nimbus 2000 outside.
Look,
Quidditch with the neighbours.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I didn't jump in with that story tonight because I thought, yes, it would be better doing it the way you say of a comparison of stories, because it was something that happened at one time. I dismissed it for a long time. Then I got more seriously into the paranormal, which connected into the real world of investigation. So it changed, it was over a period of time, it changed my attitude to things.
Yeah.
But the ghost story is the ghost story. And we just can't wait for you to share them with us. When Paul's going to share one, I've no doubt his ghost story will make the hair on the back of your neck stand up straight. I mean, mine did. That was everything I told you was not exaggerated. It was literally word for word what happened. The bang in the wall, which through a 4.5 foot thick wall, which was a boom and made us go boomf. And then I think my mate did it. He thought I did it, and we were in the pitch black. And then to be chased through a castle by a ghost, that happened.
When you running?
I was young and thin, remember?
When you get to have a look at those photos, I think I've numbered them all, starting with 01 to about 013 or something like that. There's a couple out of sequence in a timeline, but most of them are timeline relative. So if there's any you want to ask questions, refer to the start number, not any text, and then I can look on a screen and see the same picture that you're looking at. But yeah, there's some interesting ones there.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait to look at them. I'm going to look at them right after the show.
Yeah, don't up on the page.
Right, are you okay if I disappear?
Yes, by all means. In fact, we thought you had.
No, I am going now. But yes, I'll speak to you both again soon. It's been lovely talking to you.
Pleasure.
You too, buddy. Be safe and look after yourself, all right?
Take care. Bye-bye.
Good luck, Paul. See you, mate.
Bye.
I thought Paul had disappeared on us.
So did I.
And then his face just flashed up on the screen and went, "Oh, still here." So I brought him back on. Ward Van der Plas, welcome to the show. But you've come in right at the end. We are literally about to go. Dawn's already asleep. She hangs her head down like that, so her eyes look shattered, but her eyes are closed.
I should be up to about 1 o'clock. I'm good to go. We just stay here chatting all night.
I've got a long day tomorrow, and a long day on Wednesday, and a long day on Thursday. And I think the only day that we have a gentle day this coming week is Friday. So if I don't get the opportunity to say to you, which I can't imagine will not be the case, but have a very, very happy and safe Halloween, All Souls Night.
And you.
Get your cameras out. The veil is supposed to be at its thinnest on the 31st. So get your cameras out, take your pictures, and send them in to us.
Yes. Yeah.
Dawn, it's been an absolute pleasure, my darling.
It has been a great evening. Thank you very much.
It has been a fantastic. I do hope you've enjoyed it. And Dawn and I will be back on Monday night. I won't be back Thursday, like I say. This week, Reach Across Live is going to have a wee break just for this Thursday. That's all. Be back Monday. And then the only time we'll have another break is when I'm moving house, which will be in a few weeks' time. Good night to everybody, and especially my dear and brilliant compatriot here on the channel, my close pal, and what's the right word here?
Thorn in your side.
You heard it directly from her voice. It wasn't me. No, my co-presenter of Ghost 22. Don't forget, you can order your T-shirts. I will make sure she's wearing her T-shirt next week.
I did put a black hoodie on. I did put a black hoodie on, but it's not.
I just thought you were wearing your black witch's veil thing.
No, hang on. It's a Scania one.
Scania. Pure husband's trucks. Anyway, we've been on here. Where's the time? 2 hours, 25 minutes for an hour and a half show.
I know. The chat has been so active. I've not had a chance to catch up with the chat.
It's been fantastic. It's been an absolute brilliant. And guys, come and join us again next Monday night, where Dawn and I will be back with Ghost 22. And we will be hopefully having another guest of a pal of ours who has a team up in, where did you say it is? It's way up in either North Devon or it's somewhere way up there. And I said, would you mind coming on and talking about some of the stuff she's encountered. She could absolutely, I'll do that for you. So look out for that next week. If not, if I don't see you before, have a happy Halloween. Dawn, I'll see you, obviously.
Halloween. Stay safe. Get your pumpkins out. Don't cook any
Last
kids.
time I said that to a girl, I got a slap. Last time I said get your pumpkins out, I ended up having to marry her. So anyway, enough said. Thank you very much for being part of Ghost 21. Please, 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 if you haven't already liked the show, make sure you like the show and make sure you share the show. And we want to build the numbers up here. So help us out. We are inviting you to start your own team in your own area. I myself will help you in relation to the training aspect. We can do that for you. But Paraghost are looking for you to start the teams in your area. And we will help you do that. We've got the t-shirts now.
Yeah, we want to get the map together as well. So that
we want Paraghost to be a global phenomenon.
Yeah,
so if you're wherever you are, Australia, America, here, we want to get a map out and say, go ahead, Don.
So we want pins to say, right, we have a team here. And we also want different pins to say there is a story or there's something to investigate here.
Yeah.
So you know where a team is that you can contact if you want to do your own little thing. So if you contact the team, they'll tell you where to go and look, or there'll be the map to say, if you want to go and do your own little investigation, here's the little pointers to go and check out.
Exactly. We have teams starting in Ireland, teams starting in America. We have teams, 2 or 3 teams starting here in the UK. Listen, you only need 3, 4, 5, half a dozen people to get together who are like-minded to create a team. We'll be behind you. We'll give you a banner to work under, and you'll have such a great time. And you've now got a show that's going to be on every single week where you can be a part of with your team, your own paranormal Paraghost team, part of the Ghost 22 TV show. Dawn, you are a rock star. I don't care what people say about you. I love you.
Don't listen to them. They're just jealous.
You know what always goes off my mind? You said to me, I'm never going to divorce my husband because I hate him too much. I gig every time I'll hear it in my head, and it just makes me giggle.
Yeah, I don't like him that much.
He's a star. He's a lovely guy.
He's a superstar.
I will talk to you most likely tomorrow, my angel. And yep. I'm going to say good night. God bless to everybody. Thank you for being on Ghost 22. We'll see you all next week.
God bless. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.